Chapter 3280. Inheritance. The undying bird's divine soul was very powerful. It was like a terrifying black flame, burning Zhuowen's divine soul and spreading through his sea of consciousness. Zhuowen's face was pale, and his eyes were filled with pain. The undying bird's divine soul was just too powerful. It was like a ball of fire that was scorching hot. If Zhuowen's divine soul wasn't so much stronger than an ordinary cultivator's, his divine soul and sea of consciousness would have started to crumble. Kid, your physical body isn't ordinary. Before you die, I'll give you a chance. Tell me the origin of your physical body. Don't try to fool me by telling me that your physical body is the Devourer King's. I can see that your physical body is many times stronger than the Devourer King's. Moreover, its nature is completely different. The undying bird's cold voice resounded in Zhuowen's sea of consciousness, shaking Zhuowen's mind. Zhuowen endured the discomfort in his sea of consciousness and said coldly, "You should have seen the origin of my physical body long ago, right? Do you still need me to tell you?" The undying bird sneered and said, "Of course I do. I'm just guessing. I'm not sure." Zhuowen only sneered and said nothing. "It seems like you're refusing a toast only to be forced to drink a forfeit. Then I don't need to ask you. I'll just take over your body and search your memories before I wipe out your divine soul." The undying bird sneered and didn't say anything else. It continued to wreak havoc in Zhuowen's sea of consciousness. Black flames filled Zhuowen's sea of consciousness. Terrifying heat surged up, causing Zhuowen's eyes to widen. He couldn't help but spit out a mouthful of blood. But soon, the black flames that covered the entire sea of consciousness were drowned by an even more vast and terrifying energy. Then, the raging black flames were frozen in midair by this vast energy. The undying bird spirit, which was flying in the sea of consciousness, was also suppressed by this terrifying energy. The undying bird's eyes were filled with fear. It looked left and right, feeling incredulous. With the strength of his divine soul, destroying Zhuowen's divine soul was more than enough. But now, in Zhuowen's divine soul, there was actually such a terrifying energy that was suppressing its entire body. This made the undying bird feel fear and disbelief. This kind of terrifying energy had already exceeded the scope of what the undying bird could withstand. Then, the undying bird saw a dazzling banner fly out from the depths of Zhuowen's sea of consciousness. Especially the image of a giant drawn on the surface of the banner. It was so vivid that it seemed to have a spirit of its own. "It's the Panga banner." The undying bird could not believe it. It wanted to escape, but the pressure of the Panga banner was too terrifying. It firmly suppressed its divine soul, making it unable to move. In the end, the undying bird could only watch as its divine soul was suppressed by the Panga banner. Under the terrifying energy of the Panga banner, its divine soul slowly dissipated and disappeared. It turned into wisps of divine soul fragments that were absorbed by Zhuowen's sea of consciousness. With the nourishment of the undying bird's divine soul, Zhuowen's sea of consciousness gradually recovered and became even stronger than before. Zhuowen slowly opened his eyes, and a sarcastic smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. In fact, when he knew that the undying bird intended to possess him, Zhuowen was not worried at all. This was because in his sea of consciousness, there was such a terrifying thing as the Panga banner. Under this starry sky, there should not be many creatures that could hurt his divine soul, and the undying bird was no exception. Zhuowen looked at Crepe Myrtle Star, who was not far away. At this moment, Crepe Myrtle Star's face was pale and in pain. He had not woken up yet. Zhuowen pointed his right hand between Crepe Myrtle Star's eyebrows. With the remaining power of the Panga banner, he poured it into Crepe Myrtle Star's sea of consciousness and understood the remaining power of the undying bird's divine soul. Crepe Myrtle Star spat out a mouthful of blood and slowly opened his eyes. There was a look of horror in his eyes. "Brother Zhuo, just now Crepe Myrtle Star's eyes were filled with guilt. When his divine soul was possessed by the undying bird, he knew what was going on. Moreover, he had seen everything that had happened to Zhuowen just now. What he did not expect was that half of the undying bird's inheritance he had obtained turned out to be a trap. It was a trick of the undying bird to possess him. He knew very well that if it were not for Juan, he would have died here today. Brother Joie, I, Crepe Myrtle, will never forget your life-saving grace. In the future, whatever Brother Joie wants me to do, I, Crepe Myrtle, will do. I will not say a word. Crepe Myrtle Star suddenly knelt on one knee on the ground. His eyes were filled with gratitude as he looked at Juan. Juan quickly helped Crepe Myrtle Star up and said, Brother Crepe Myrtle, you are my friend. How can I, stand by and do nothing when you are in trouble? There is no need for such formalities. Otherwise, you will not treat me as a friend. Crepe Myrtle Star nodded, stood up and said, Brother Joie, I will not say any more words of gratitude. I will always remember your kindness in my heart, and you will always be my friend. At this point, Crepe Myrtle Star looked at the undying bird's corpse not far away and said in a deep voice, Brother Joie, the undying bird's inheritance should be in its corpse. It was all thanks to you that I was able to subdue the undying bird's divine soul. I will leave half of the undying bird's inheritance to you. Juan shook his head and said, Brother Crepe Myrtle, you have already obtained half of the undying bird's inheritance. This is your opportunity. I will not take away someone's beloved. Moreover, I have also obtained a very powerful inheritance. The undying bird's inheritance is useless to me. Crepe Myrtle Star hesitated for a moment, then gritted his teeth and said, All right. In Crepe Myrtle Star's opinion, even the undying bird's divine soul could not possess Juan. He knew that the inheritance that Juan had obtained must be extremely amazing. However, Crepe Myrtle Star firmly remembered this kindness in his heart. He did not dare to forget it. The two of them walked to the side of the undying bird's corpse. Juan immediately felt that the undying bird's blood essence aura was extremely vigorous. Juan clicked his tongue in wonder. The undying bird was indeed a famous divine beast from ancient times. Its blood essence was still so vigorous after being stored for so long. It was rare to see such a thing. Juan stretched out his right hand and made a cut on the undying bird's wings. Immediately, blood gushed out. Juan began to absorb the energy of the blood essence. He was pleasantly surprised to find that the energy of the blood essence had made his Pangu's sacred body somewhat stronger. Brother Crepe Myrtle, the other half of the undying bird's inheritance is in its sea of consciousness. You only need to explore its sea of consciousness and you should be able to obtain the other half of the inheritance. The blood essence of the undying bird is very beneficial to me, so I may need to use its energy to cultivate. As Juan spoke, he did not wait for Crepe Myrtle Star's reaction. He sat cross-legged on the undying bird's corpse and made a large cut on the undying bird's back with his right hand. The gushing blood essence was absorbed by Juan. He began to consolidate and improve his Pangu's sacred body. The undying bird's divine soul had been destroyed by the Panga banner, so there was nothing in the undying bird's sea of consciousness that could threaten Crepe Myrtle Star. Therefore, he was relieved to let Crepe Myrtle Star explore the undying bird's sea of consciousness. The reason why he knew this was that after the undying bird's divine soul was shattered, he had obtained some of the undying bird's memories. Therefore, he knew that the other half of the inheritance was secretly stored in the depths of the undying bird's sea of consciousness. Chapter 3281. Phoenix Master. After obtaining the other half of the inheritance in the undying bird's consciousness, Crepe Myrtle Star sat not far from the undying bird's corpse and began to silently absorb the massive amount of information in the inheritance. Crepe Myrtle Star's eyes were filled with excitement. The inheritance of the undying bird was terrifying. He was confident that after fully accepting the inheritance, his cultivation would be able to break through to the late stage of the sky-reaching master. After all, his current cultivation was already at the peak of the middle stage of the sky-reaching master. The probability of breaking through was very high. Juan was still sitting cross-legged on the undying bird's corpse. Around him, there was a thick blood mist. The blood mist constantly gushed out from the wounds on the undying bird's corpse and was constantly being absorbed by Juan's body. In the process of absorbing the blood essence, Juan's aura also became more and more terrifying. While Juan and Crepe Myrtle Star were cultivating, The atmosphere of the Phoenix people outside the Undying Bird's purgatory seemed to be much gloomier. At this moment, most of the Phoenix people came out of seclusion and gathered in the huge square around the Undying Bird's purgatory. Feng Buming, the two guardians of Xuanhua, and the 7 fire deities stood in front of the Phoenix people. The atmosphere in the square was very solemn, but all the people standing in the square were ecstatic. Even Feng Buming, Xianhua, and the others, who were standing at the front, had looks of excitement and anticipation in their eyes. Suddenly, a stream of light appeared in the distant sky. The stream of light was getting closer and closer, and in an instant, it was close. Only then did the people realize that the stream of light was actually a huge and magnificent flying divine artifact. The flying divine artifact looked like a phoenix spreading its wings and flying in the sky. Its entire body was wrapped in powerful and blazing flames. At the head of the flying divine artifact, a purple-robed man stood as straight as a spear. His hands were behind his back, and he had a vast aura of disdain for the world. The moment the Phoenix people in the square saw the purple-robed man, their eyes were filled with fanaticism, and they all knelt on the ground. Feng Buming, the two guardians of Xuanhua, and the 7 fire deities, the higher-ups of the Phoenix people, knelt on one knee and said respectfully, "Welcome back, Phoenix Master." The purple-clothed man leaped out and slowly landed in front of Feng Buming and the others. With a wave of his sleeve, he put away the flying divine artifact that was suspended in midair. The purple-clothed man was the current lord of the Phoenix. His name was Feng Luo. Back then, she was a famous terrifying genius in the ancient desolate heaven domain. This was especially true for Feng Liluo, who had a high-grade bloodline of the Phoenix people. Her bloodline far surpassed that of ordinary Phoenix people. Of course, Feng Liluo's bloodline was still inferior to Mu Qinshue's 99 Phoenix body. After all, the 99 Phoenix body surpassed the bloodline of any Phoenix people. It was a true top-quality bloodline. Feng Luo frowned slightly as she glanced at Feng Buming and said, "Your body has collapsed before? This body of yours is something you refined on the spot, right? That's why you can't recover your cultivation at all. Even if you do recover in the future, it will have a huge impact on your future cultivation path. Is this also Zhuowen's doing?" Feng Buming lowered his head and said shamefully, "Phoenix Master, bumming is useless. I can't believe that Jun put me in such a difficult situation. Please punish me, Phoenix Master." Feng Liluo waved her hand and said, "After all, the Phoenix people are one of the top 10 clans of the ancient desolate heaven domain. Although I've been in the heaven-accessing secret land all year round, my clan's power is here. Not many alien clans in the ancient desolate heaven domain dare to provoke the Phoenix people. Today, this Zhuan dared to provoke the Phoenix people. Today, I will kill him in my clan." "Oh right, when you sent me the message, you said that Zhuan was from the Devouring clan. So, have you sent your troops to wipe out the Devouring clan tribe?" Speaking of this, Feng Luo clasped her hands behind her back, her face calm. "A while ago, we sent 10,000 elite troops to the Devouring clan tribe. I think they've almost reached the Devouring clan tribe and destroyed it." Feng Buming's eyes sparkled with a gleam of satisfaction. "Well done. Since they dared to offend the Phoenix people, not only will they have to pay the price, but their entire clan will be exterminated. This is a benchmark for those who dare to offend our clan. Whoever dares to provoke the Phoenix people must be prepared to be exterminated," said Feng Liluo calmly. However, at this moment, Feng Buming's communication jade token rang. Feng Buming carefully looked at Feng Liluo. Seeing her nod to let him check the message, he took out the communication jade token. However, after checking the message, Feng Buming's face darkened. "What's the message?" Feng Liluo couldn't help but ask as she could see Feng Buming's grimace. Feng Buming's eyes sparkled as he hurried to say, "Phoenix Master, the message from the front line says that the 10,000 elite troops we sent failed to attack the Devouring clan tribe. Moreover, most of the elite troops of the Phoenix people were killed. Almost all of them were annihilated. From the message, I heard that the Devouring clan tribe has a powerful heaven-crossing slaughtering formation. 10,000 elite troops aren't a match for this heaven-crossing slaughtering formation. Feng Lilua knitted her brows, her face displeased. Feng Bumming crouched on the ground and hurried to beg for forgiveness. Phoenix Master, it's my fault. Bumming will take responsibility for it. This time, I'll send another batch of elite troops to destroy the entire devouring clan tribe. Feng Lilua shook her head. No need. I'm afraid that the heaven-crossing slaughtering formation of the devouring clan was set up by Jun. We don't need to send more people there. This Jun is a talent. He's a heaven-crossing formation master. It's a pity to kill such a talent. It's better to let him and the entire devouring clan respect us as our masters. They will be our slaves forever. Although Feng Lilua wasn't happy with Zhuowen's behavior, after knowing that Zhuowen was a heaven-crossing formation master, she didn't want to kill him. Instead, she wanted to use Zhuowen. After all, there weren't many heaven-crossing formation masters in the entire ancient desolate heavenly realm. They were as rare as phoenix feathers and unicorn horns. In her eyes, if she killed Zhuowen, it would be a pity. It would be best if she could be used by the Phoenix people. Phoenix Master is wise. Feng Bumming's eyes twinkled. Although he wanted to kill Zhuowen directly, since the Phoenix Master had spoken, he didn't dare to talk nonsense. Bu Ming, you mentioned in the message that Zhuowen had set up 3 complementary Heaven Ascension Great Formations outside the Undying Bird Purgatory. Is this true? Although Feng Lilua was asking, his gaze had already passed the crowd and landed on the Undying Bird Purgatory behind the crowd. With her eyesight, she could see the ripples of the formation on the surface of the Phoenix Purgatory. Moreover, the ripples were extremely powerful. It wasn't something that could be created by an ordinary formation. Feng Bumming didn't dare to be negligent. He led the 2 guardians and the 7 fire gods to the Phoenix Purgatory. The members of the Phoenix clan in the square also opened up a path for him, their eyes filled with reverence. Arriving in front of the Phoenix Purgatory, Feng Lilua extended her right hand and pressed on the surface of the Phoenix Purgatory. Instantly, the dense formation ripples spread out, hindering her right hand from moving forward. Feng Lilua snorted coldly. A terrifying purple flame gushed out of her right palm and hit the formation ripples. Chapter 3282. Monster Territory Bang. The stalemate between Feng Lilua and the formation did not last long before it exploded with a loud boom. Terrifying ripples spread out, and many of the Phoenix clansmen in the plaza involuntarily groaned and retreated. Feng Lilua took a few steps back, her clothes fluttering in the wind. It's really 3 Heaven Passage Great Formations. These 3 great formations are interconnected and complement each other. Their power is terrifying. It's not something an ordinary Heaven Passage master can break. Speaking of this, Feng Lilua's eyes were filled with excitement. She said, Zhuowen's level is very high. He's even higher than an ordinary Heaven Passage Divine Array master. We must use him. Otherwise, we can only kill him. He Xian said in a low voice, Phoenix Master, these 3 great formations are impregnable. Shuehua and I tried to break them together, but we failed. We were even injured by the backlash. Phoenix Master, do you have the confidence to break these 3 great formations? Feng Lilua's eyes were filled with pride. She said, I can break these 3 great formations by force, but the price I have to pay is too high. It's not worth it. We only need to wait for Zhuowen to leave the Undying Bird Purgatory. At that time, he will break these 3 great formations. Feng Bumming, Xianhua, and the others were enlightened. Feng Lilua was right. Why did they have to break the great formations? Wasn't it the same if they waited for Zhuowen to come out? Phoenix Master is brilliant. Feng Bumming, Xianhua, and the others were impressed. Oh right, Phoenix Master. What should we do with the Devouring clan? Feng Bumming cupped his hands and asked. Don't worry about the Devouring clan. I'm interested in Zhuowen. There's no need to make enemies with him now. If we can use him, there's no need to deal with the Devouring clan. If we can't use him, it won't be too late to deal with him. Feng Lilua said indifferently. Although Feng Bumming was unwilling, he did not dare to disobey Feng Lilua's order. Next, Feng Bumming, Xuanhua, and the others began to disperse the many Phoenix people in the square, leaving only a small number of elites to guard outside the Phoenix Purgatory and observe the movements of the Phoenix Purgatory at any time. After doing these, Zhuan said to the Profound Fire Two Protectors, the mission of monitoring the Undying Bird Purgatory will be handed over to you too. Thank you for your kindness, Phoenix Master. We will do our best. The two guardians of Xuanhua were overwhelmed by the favor. Feng Lilua nodded. Then, she looked at Feng Bumming, who was a little uneasy, and said indifferently, Bumming, when you advanced to the early stage of Master Tongan, I was very gratified. But now you've disappointed me. Feng Bumming's body trembled as he knelt on the ground, not daring to speak. Get up. The Sorcerer's Song gathering is about to begin. You're the most important person to the Phoenix people. But you ended up like this. Feng Lilua snorted coldly and said, with your current state, not to mention getting a spot, it would be difficult for you to even make it through the first round. Feng Bumming was still kneeling on the ground, not saying a word. However, his body was trembling much more obviously. Feng Lilua looked at the trembling Feng Bumming and sighed softly, Get up. Before the Sorcerer's Song gathering begins, I'll refine your physical body. You can stay by my side during this time. Feng Bumming quickly kowtowed and said excitedly, Thank you for your forgiveness, Phoenix Master. This time, you must get a spot in the Sorcerer's Song gathering. Otherwise, I won't let you go. Feng Lilua said indifferently. Feng Bumming's heart trembled as he quickly agreed. With Phoenix Master's help, Bumming should be able to climb back to the peak. The two guardians of Xuanhua looked at Feng Lilua and Feng Bumming who were leaving and nodded secretly. Just as Zhuan was cultivating in the Undying Bird Purgatory, outside the primitive heavenly realm, the former 8 heavenly realms, the current demon realm, welcomed 3 uninvited guests. These 3 uninvited guests happened to be the Grand Elder of the Phoenix people, the 3rd Elder of the clan, and Mu Chenxue, who looked a little dazed. At this moment, the 3 of them had just arrived at the border of the demon realm and met an extremely powerful demon clan member. This demon clan member was wearing a thick golden armor. His skin was golden yellow, and there were streaks of hideous blood marks on his cheeks. This demon clan member stopped the Grand Elder and the other 2. His gaze was calm as if he had been waiting for the 3 of them. Are you the Grand Elder of the Phoenix people, Muyu? The golden-armored man cupped his hands at Grand Elder Muyu and asked the obvious. Muyu did not dare to be negligent. She cupped her hands and said, I'm Muyu of the Phoenix people. May I know your name, fellow cultivator? I'm Yao Xian, one of the 99 demon shamans under the demon saint Dong Huang Tai. The golden-armored man smiled faintly. Muyu's gaze turned serious when she heard that. She had some understanding of the origin of the 99 demon shamans. She knew that the 99 demon shamans were actually the 99 great shaman corpses that were trapped in the 9-story demon tower. However, they were refined into demon shamans by the Dong Huang Tai's supreme means. They were completely under his command. Moreover, the weakest of the 99 demon shamans was at the early stage of the Master of Heaven. They were a very terrifying force that guarded the Dong Huang Tai. In fact, when she met Yao Xian, Muyu realized that Yao Xian's strength was definitely not weaker than hers. Instead, he gave her a very dangerous feeling. She knew that Yao Xian was at least at the middle stage of the Master of Heaven. Muyu has long heard of your great name. This time, we're here to visit the Demon Saint. I believe the Demon Saint already knows about our origins, right? Muyu said. Yao Xian nodded and said, The Demon Saint has already instructed me to do this. You're here to investigate the location of the Heavenly Armor Planet, right? The location of the Heavenly Armor Planet is not within the Demon Realm. It's in the extraterritorial starry sky outside the Demon Realm. But we also only know the approximate location. As for the exact location, we're not clear. As he said, Yao Xian took out a jade slip and handed it to Muyu, saying, What's recorded here is the approximate location. You can go and look according to the instructions. Muyu received the jade slip and cupped her fists at Yao Xian. After expressing her gratitude, she took out a jade bottle and said, In accordance with the Demon Saint's request, I brought this drop of phoenix blood. Yao Xian received the jade bottle, his gaze clearly revealing a look of excitement. After checking that there were no errors, Yao Xian cupped his fists and said, "Thank you for your hard work, Grand Elder. Yao Xian will take my leave first. I still have to report to the Demon Saint." Finished talking, Yao Xian left very straightforwardly. Muyu did not urge him to stay either. Instead, after checking the jade slip, she chose a direction and sped off. Before she came to the demon realm, she had already investigated Mu Qinshue's origins clearly long ago. This woman was a native of the only life planet in the extraterritorial starry sky, the Heavenly Armor Planet. It was just that the Heavenly Armor Planet was said to have been refined by that Juon later. It should not be in the extraterritorial starry sky now. But what Muyu was searching for was not the Heavenly Armor Planet, but the part of the starry sky that gave birth to the Heavenly Armor Planet. She was very clear that the place that could give birth to the 99 Phoenix physique bloodline definitely contained a secret. Chapter 3283. Eastern Emperor T. Grand Elder, this is really strange. We suddenly came to the demon realm, but Eastern Emperor Tai didn't ask us anything. He just sent a demon shaman to get the phoenix blood. On the way to the extraterritorial starry sky, the third elder, and Yen, looked puzzled and asked the Grand Elder beside him. Grand Elder Muyu had been frowning. Now that third elder and Yen asked, she was silent for a while and said, "I've never met Eastern Emperor Tai, but I heard from the Phoenix Master that Eastern Emperor Tai is an expert from the ancient times. He's an expert from the same era as our ancestor, the Phoenix. He's a supreme expert who has experienced countless disasters. He's definitely not someone to be trifled with. His actions this time are really unexpected. I thought he would invite us to the demon realm. But he didn't. He just sent a demon shaman. He didn't even say a word of invitation." Speaking of this, Mu Yu's frown deepened. "Grand Elder, isn't this better? If we enter the demon realm, we'll be entering the demon race's hinterland. If the demon race has evil intentions towards us, then we'll be in trouble. This situation is just right for us." Third Elder didn't understand Grand Elder's worries. Muyu shook her head and said, "I hope so. It should be this part of the starry sky." Suddenly, Muyu stopped at a part of the starry sky. This part of the starry sky was filled with densely packed rubble of different sizes. Other than that, there were many dim planets in the distance. These planets were called dead planets by the cultivators of the eight heavens. Dead planets were the opposite of life planets. There were no living creatures or plants on dead planets. The entire surface of the planet was filled with desolation. There's nothing in this part of the starry sky. Grand Elder, are you sure it's here? Third Elder asked with a frown. I've checked Mu Qinshue's memories. Back then, Heavenly Armor Star was here. However, Heavenly Armor Star was taken away by Zhuo, so now there are only countless rocks here. Great Clan Elder said with certainty. Next, let's check if there's any aura related to the phoenix in this part of the starry sky. As the Great Elder spoke, he took out a fiery red mirror from his spirit ring. The fiery red mirror looked like a ball of raging flames, and the surface of the mirror was blood red like fresh blood, adding a strange aura to it. The Grand Elder formed a seal with both hands, and the surface of the mirror began to burn with flames. The flames burned more and more vigorously. In an instant, the flames turned into a sea of fire that spread out in all directions, instantly enveloping the entire starry sky. The sea of fire lasted for about 10 breaths of time before it swiftly shrank. Great Clan Elder Mu Yu was overjoyed when he saw the sea of fire shrink. This mirror was refined from the blood essence of the phoenix, so it was very sensitive to the aura of the phoenix. Once the aura of the phoenix was present, the sea of fire gushing out of the mirror would quickly shrink to the source of the aura of the phoenix. But now only 10 breaths of time had passed, and the sea of fire had shrunk. This proved that there was indeed the aura of a phoenix in this place. When the sea of fire finally condensed into a thumb-sized fire spot, this fire spot suddenly expanded and finally formed a fire vortex that was as tall as a person. There really is another world under this starry sky. The Grand Elder and the Third Elder were overjoyed. They didn't travel thousands of miles to the demon realm in vain. Just as the Grand Elder and the Third Elder were about to step into the fire vortex and enter the other world inside the vortex, suddenly, two terrifying fire pillars shot out from the fire vortex. These two fire pillars condensed a terrifying fire energy, and they respectively blasted towards the Grand Elder and the Third Elder. The Grand Elder and the Third Elder's faces changed greatly, and they both used their natal divine artifacts to attack the two fire pillars. Bang! Bang! The power of these two fire pillars was too terrifying. The Grand Elder and the Third Elder both groaned at the same time, and they couldn't help but retreat. The moment the two of them retreated, the fire vortex actually moved quickly, brushing past the Grand Elder and the Third Elder, and landed on Mu Chenxue, who was behind them. At this moment, Mu Chenxue's eyes were still lifeless, and she was frozen in place, not knowing how to dodge. After the fire vortex swallowed Mu Chenxue, it quickly dissipated. Damn it! The Grand Elder and the Third Elder's faces changed greatly. The moment the fire vortex dissipated, they ignored the injuries they suffered and rushed towards the fire vortex. Unfortunately, when the two of them rushed in front of the fire vortex had already completely dissipated, and it disappeared. The Grand Elder was flustered and exasperated, and he quickly used the mirror in his hand to summon the sea of fire again. The sea of fire spread in all directions, and it quickly spread to the limit. But this time, the sea of fire didn't shrink after dozens of breaths. The Grand Elder didn't believe it, and he continued to maintain the sea of fire. After several minutes, the sea of fire still didn't shrink. Grand Elder, I'm afraid that the Phoenix's aura has already disappeared from this starry sky. This is really inconceivable. That must be a mysterious world, and there's even a spirituality that escaped. The Third Elder felt that it was inconceivable. The Grand Elder Mu Yu was a little dejected. She didn't expect that such an unforeseen event would happen, and it really caught her off guard. Now, the entrance to the mysterious world had already escaped. And Mu Chenxue was also pulled into the mysterious world, and all of a sudden, all of the clues were lost. I don't believe that the mysterious world will really escape just because of this. Mu Yu was very unwilling. She gritted her teeth and rushed to another place, summoning the sea of fire again to search for the Phoenix's aura that had just appeared. She changed her position again and again, but unfortunately, all she got in return was failure. At the same time, in the darkness of the starry sky, two figures passed through the layers of void and landed in the starry sky where Mu Yu and the others were. If one looked closer, one could see that one of the two figures was a burly man in golden armor. It was Yao Xian, who had met with the Grand Elder Mu Yu and the others previously. The figure standing beside Yao Xian was a man with a slender figure. He wore a long black robe, and there were golden lines at every corner of the long robe. However, this man wore a large hoodie on his head, and it covered his entire face, so it was impossible to see his face clearly. This man wearing a black robe with golden edges was the master of the entire devil realm, Dong Huangtai. Yao Xian stood beside Dong Huangtai Yi, and he didn't dare to say anything. His eyes were filled with reverence. Sir, it seems that there should be something related to the ancient divine beast, the phoenix, in this starry sky. As expected, these two phoenix people didn't come here with good intentions. Should we take them down? Yao Xian asked. There's no need. After all, I took their phoenix blood. Just treat it as compensation for their impudence in my territory. As long as it's not too much, there's no need to pursue it. However, I'm very curious about the human that the phoenix people brought here by Mu Yu. He was actually chosen by the phoenix. This is a little beyond my expectations. Dong Huangtai Yi said calmly. Yao Xian's eyes flickered, and he said hesitantly, Sir, do you mean that the divine beast, the phoenix, really exists in this starry sky? As far as I know, the phoenix should have already fallen. It's impossible for it to come back to life. Yes, the phoenix has indeed fallen, but its inheritance has been passed down. And that human is the one chosen by the phoenix. No wonder that human has the 99 phoenix body. Yao Xian, we don't have to care about this anymore. Let's go back. Chapter 3284. Taishien's spiritual elixir of creation in the depths of the phoenix's purgatory. Yun slowly opened his eyes in the nest that was burning with black flames. In the depths of his eyes, there was intense excitement. A vast and terrifying aura surged out from his body. It was extremely violent and powerful. Zhuowen's aura rose steadily. The aura was so terrifying that it seemed to be real. It gathered into an extremely terrifying storm. The storm became more and more terrifying and suddenly soared into the sky. Bang, bang, bang. The huge bird's nest was torn into countless pieces by this terrifying storm. As for the black flames that lingered around the nest, they were constantly being suppressed and weakened by the terrifying storm. In the end, the black flames were completely annihilated by the terrifying aura storm. Crepe Star, who was sitting cross-legged in the nest, was also awakened by the terrifying aura. When he saw the nest that had been turned into ruins, he could not help but open his mouth in surprise. He was well aware of how terrifying the undying bird's nest was and how endless the black flames outside were. But now it was annihilated. It was too terrifying. Crepe Star stood up and looked at the figure standing on the phoenix's corpse in awe. He also noticed that the corpse of the undying bird had completely shriveled up. He knew that the phoenix's blood essence energy had been completely absorbed by Jun. It's worthy of being an ancient divine beast. The blood essence energy contained in its body is so vast and powerful. Jun was so happy that he had an impulse to roar. After absorbing the phoenix's blood essence energy, the level of his Pangu's sacred body did continue to increase. It broke through from the peak of the early stage of 7 stars to the middle stage, then the late stage, and finally the peak. This made Zhuowen very surprised. Originally, he was already very happy that the undying bird's blood essence energy could raise him to the late stage of 7 star, but he did not expect that it would directly raise him to the peak of 7 star. The Pangu's sacred body had reached the peak of the 7 stars. Zhuowen's qualities had been improved in all aspects. Even his magic skills had been greatly improved. Zhuowen was now confident that he could fight against a sky-reaching master at the middle stage without relying on any trump cards. He even had a great chance of defeating him. Of course, if he used all kinds of trump cards, Zhuowen was confident that he could fight against a sky-reaching master at the late stage. Brother Zhuo, congratulations on your breakthrough. Purple Star Sovereign hurriedly walked over to congratulate Zhuowen. Zhuowen waved his hand and said with a smile, "It's all thanks to the phoenix's blood essence. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to advance so quickly." Then Zhuowen looked Star and said, "Brother Crepe Star, brother, you should have received the phoenix's inheritance." "You are you?" Crepe Star smiled bitterly and said, "I should be half a step into the sky-reaching master at the late stage. But I'm still a little short. I can't completely break through the shackles." Hearing this, Zhuowen nodded and said, "Brother Crepe Star, you should only need a little bit of opportunity to smoothly advance. Now, I'll give you that opportunity." Crepe Star was stunned. He did not understand what Zhuowen meant. Opportunities to break through were hard to come by. Zhuowen said that he would give him an opportunity. Was this a joke? "Brother Crepe Star, have you heard of the Taishian Spirit Creation Elixir?" Zhuowen asked with a smile. Of course. The Taishian Spirit Creation Elixir should be a sky-reaching master at the late stage. It's very precious. And it's said that after swallowing the Taishian Spirit Creation Elixir, a trace of creation power will be born in the body. This creation power can give the person who consumes the elixir the opportunity to extend his comprehension and break through the realm in a short time. It's said that it's suitable for cultivators at the late stage of the sky-reaching master and below. Crepe Star seemed to have thought of something. He looked at Zhuowen in disbelief and said, "Brother Zhuo, do you have this kind of elixir?" Zhuowen shook his head. Crepe Star immediately looked disappointed. "Although I don't, I have the herbs to refine the Taishian Spirit Creation Elixir," Zhuowen said. Crepe Star was a little depressed and said, "What's the use of having the herbs? The Taishian Spirit Creation Elixir is a sky-reaching master at the late stage. It's very difficult for an ordinary sky-reaching alchemist to refine it. Sigh, if only there was a sky-reaching alchemist now." Zhuan shrugged and took out the Emperor Elixir Furnace and the herbs for the Taishan Spirit Creation Elixir. Brother Zhua, what are you doing? Crepe Star noticed that something was wrong and hurriedly asked. Of course it's alchemy. The opportunity I'm talking about is the Taishan Spirit Creation Elixir. I plan to refine this elixir for you. Zhuowen said. The Taishan Spirit Creation Elixir is a sky-reaching master. Brother Zhua, are you also a sky-reaching alchemist? Crepe Star asked suspiciously. Is there a problem? Zhuowen said. Crepe Star was speechless, but he was shocked in his heart. He had been with Zhuowen for a period of time and knew Zhuowen's character very well. He knew that Zhuowen was definitely not the kind of person who would boast. In other words, what Zhuowen said about him being a sky-reaching alchemist was true. Thinking of this, Crepe Star's heart was very complicated. It was more disbelief. He already knew that Zhuowen was a sky-reaching formation Dao divine master. This was already heaven-defying enough. But now, Zhuowen, this guy was actually also a sky-reaching alchemist. My God, both Formation Dao and Alchemy Dao reached sky-reaching Alchemy Dao. In the countless years of evolution of this starry sky, it was very rare for such a freak to appear. Furthermore, Crepe Star also knew that several hundred years ago, when Zhuowen was still in the 8 heavens, this guy's Formation Dao and Alchemy Dao had not corroborated Dao. In other words, this guy only used several hundred years to reach sky-reaching Alchemy Dao, Formation Dao, and Cultivation. This could no longer be described as freakish. It was freakish. Thinking of this, Crepe Star's gaze when looking at Zhuowen was filled with awe. He originally thought that relying on the undying bird's inheritance, his cultivation speed was already terrifying enough. But this guy in front of him was clearly God knows how many times more impressive than him. Speaking of which, Crepe Star also felt somewhat frustrated in his heart. Back when he was in the 8 heavens, he was already inferior to Zhuowen. Now that they met again, he was still inferior to Zhuowen, and the gap between them was getting bigger and bigger. This was really annoying. Boy, you finally opened the furnace to refine elixirs again. I'm so hungry and thirsty. The Elixir Emperor Turtle quickly rushed out of the elixir furnace and looked at Zhuowen hungrily. Zhuowen was speechless. He asked the Elixir Emperor Turtle to prepare quickly, while he ignited the divine fire and began to calm down. He took out the true elixir array record, intending to use the power of the record to refine this divine elixir. This was the first time he had refined a sky-reaching late-stage divine elixir. In fact, his current level was not enough. He had to use the true elixir array record to refine it by force. Before leaving the Phoenix Purgatory, Zhuowen had to raise the cultivation of Crepe Myrtle's Star Sovereign. He heard from Crepe Star that the Phoenix Master of the Phoenix people had returned to the primitive heavenly realm from the sky-reaching secret land. As the supreme expert of the Phoenix people, the Phoenix Master must be at the late stage of sky-reaching master. If such an expert cooperated with the experts of the Phoenix people to besiege him, he would definitely be defeated. The only chance was for Crepe Star to also reach the late stage of sky-reaching master and help him restrain the Phoenix Master. The Phoenix people dared to torture Mu Chenxue in the Phoenix Purgatory. Zhuowen would not let go of this debt. He would turn the Phoenix people upside down. Chapter 3285. Undead which Fire Zhuowen ignited his divine flame and opened the cauldron. The true alchemy array record also floated above his head. Streaks of information turned into golden characters that entered the space between his eyebrows. Zhuowen comprehended the true alchemy array record while skillfully placing the herbs he had prepared into the cauldron in an orderly manner. When all the herbs were placed into the cauldron, Zhuowen formed a seal with both hands and used the alchemy art. Time gradually passed, and soon, several days had passed. The lid of the Imperial Alchemy Cauldron began to emit a mist. The mist was filled with dense medicinal energy. Smelling the medicinal energy, Crepe Myrtle's Star felt refreshed. Crepe Myrtle's Star was excited. He knew that Zhuowen was likely to succeed this time. Bang! Suddenly, the mist emitted from the cauldron lid turned pitch black. Zhuowen's expression changed slightly. He lifted the lid of the cauldron and terrifying black smoke poured out. It looked like a huge black pillar. Fuck! I say, Dun. Why didn't you show any signs of failure? I'm choking to death. Beside the Imperial Alchemy Cauldron, the Imperial Alchemy Turtle was caught off guard. It was enveloped by the thick black smoke and coughed repeatedly. Tears streamed down its face as it hurriedly escaped. Crepe Myrtle Star sighed. Although he didn't know alchemy, he knew that Juan had failed. He wanted to comfort Juan, but he soon saw that Juan was standing there with his eyes narrowed as if he was thinking about something. He didn't disturb him. He knew that Juan was thinking about the reason for his failure. Juan stood in place for a full 7 days and 7 nights. Finally, he moved. Juan walked to the side of the Imperial Alchemy Cauldron. With a wave of his sleeve, he took out another set of herbs for the profound creation spirit pill. Imperial Alchemy Turtle, help me control the fire. Juan instructed the Imperial Alchemy Turtle beside him. Then, he ignited the divine fire under the Imperial Alchemy Cauldron. The Imperial Alchemy Turtle's black eyes were filled with fear. It asked cautiously, "Kid, you won't blow up the cauldron again, will you? If you don't have the confidence, don't refine it first. Let's talk about it later. Cut the crap. Control the fire. Otherwise, you won't be able to refine pills in the future," Juan said. When the Imperial Alchemy Turtle heard this, it helped Juan to control the fire. The Imperial Alchemy Cauldron. Alchemy Cauldron. Com didn't have the Alchemy Cauldron Alchemy Cauldrons. Alchemy Studio Cauldron Time. Time instead Time Star. Started Book Studio instead Art Studio Studio Lu Studio Lu E Studio Liu Art Studio Arti Su which Xing, a Chi Dan was. You which sect, Heart and Liu pill is was. After a while, his hands moved very quickly as he placed the medicinal herbs around him into the Emperor pill furnace in an orderly manner. The speed at which he threw the herbs was very fast. In less than 5 breaths of time, all the herbs were thrown into the pill furnace. Juan, on the other hand, was constantly forming the alchemy hand seal. His divine sense was also probing into the alchemy cauldron to observe the minute changes within. For the second time, Juan spent 5 days before the pill furnace once again emitted a medicinal fragrance. The pill emperor furnace was very cautious. After smelling the medicinal fragrance, it began to quietly retreat. It was afraid that if the refinement failed again, it would suffer a calamity. However, Juan wouldn't let this guy ruin his pill refinement, so he pulled it back and secretly warned it before continuing to form pill seals. The medicinal fragrance grew stronger and stronger, filling the entire underground space. The instant the medicinal fragrance reached its peak, Juan's eyes burst forth with a bright light. His right hand suddenly slapped the lid of the furnace. With a bang, the lid of the cauldron was blown away. 12 divine pills shot out from the inside of the cauldron. Juan took out a jade bottle and stored these 12 divine pills inside without any trace of politeness. Juan took out a divine pill and threw it to the delighted Pill Emperor Turtle. Then he took out 5 more and threw them to Crepe Star Sovereign. Crepe Star Sovereign took the divine pills in a daze. When he confirmed that the divine pills in his hand were indeed Taishen spiritual creation pills, he was truly shocked. It's actually a special grade Taishen spiritual creation pill? Crepe Star Sovereign was stunned. He hurriedly returned 4 of the Taishen spiritual creation pills to Juan. Brother Crepe Star, you have obtained the inheritance of the undying bird. Its bloodline is extraordinary. The difficulty of advancing will definitely be much higher than that of ordinary cultivators. These divine pills are mainly given to you to ensure that nothing goes wrong, Juan said. Crepe Star Sovereign gratefully accepted the 5 Taishen spiritual creation pills. Brother Jua, I won't say any words of gratitude. After I successfully advance, I will definitely repay Brother Jua's kindness. After saying that, Crepe Star Sovereign went straight to a nearby cave. After casually setting up a defensive restriction, he went into seclusion to cultivate. Juan did not intend to disturb Crepe Star Sovereign. He also found a cave. After throwing out a large pile of Heavenly Path origin crystals, he began to absorb the energy, intending to consolidate the realm of the newly advanced Pangu's sacred body. Zhuan spent 3 days to consolidate the realm of the Pangu's sacred body, which was at the peak of the Seven Stars realm. He saw that Crepe Star Sovereign was still in seclusion, beginning to comprehend the 5 great mysteries that he had comprehended from the Pangu banner. The 5 great mysteries were the sky-opening blade, the infinite primordial chaos, the mysterious light of creation, the death of heaven and earth, and the Pangu's sacred might. Zhuan had already learned the first 4 great mysteries and could use them flexibly. After the advancement of the Pangu's sacred body, the power of the mysteries had naturally increased a lot. What he was most interested in was the 5th great mystery, the Pangu's sacred might. According to the introduction of the mysteries, when he used the Pangu's sacred might, he could summon the shadow of Pangu, erupt with supreme power, and crush everything. However, the conditions to use the mysteries were too harsh. At the very least, he had to have a 7 stars Pangu's sacred body, and he could only barely withstand the Pangu's sacred might. If he used it for too long, his Pangu's sacred body would collapse. This showed how terrifying the mysteries were. This time, Zhuan was mainly comprehending the Pangu's sacred might. The more he comprehended, the more he felt the terror of the Pangu's sacred might. However, he was also afraid of the side effects of the Pangu's sacred might. Such a terrifying mysteries could not be used easily unless it was a real life-and-death situation. It did not take Zhuan long to comprehend the Pangu's sacred might. After all, the 5 great mysteries were originally engraved in his mind by the Pangu banner. He could use them at any time if he wanted to. It was just that he could use the 5 great mysteries more accurately if he comprehended them. After absorbing the blood essence of the undying bird, the energy of the Zhurong poisonous insect in my body has mutated. Zhuan's eyes flickered. He opened his right palm, and a deep black flame emerged in his palm. The aura of the black flame was very similar to the flame of the undying bird, but it was more terrifying. This was because the flame had mutated from the flame energy of both the undying bird and the Zhurong poisonous insect. It was extremely powerful, much more powerful than Zhuan's own divine fire. Both the undying bird and the Zhurong poisonous insect were proficient in fire energy. The fusion of the two was tantamount to a combination of 2 powerful forces. The mutated flame naturally would not be weak. This flame will be called the Undying Wizard Flame from now on. Zhuan named the flame with a smile. Suddenly, he stopped smiling and took out a Ho-E divine arrow from the macro world. Chapter 3286. Outer Layer Zhuan had a total of 4 Ho-E divine arrows. However, there was only 1 Ho-E divine arrow in its perfect state, and it was the one that the Black King had helped him remove the golden crow's blood from its surface. As for the other 3 Ho-E divine arrows, he had obtained them after entering the Eldritch Heavenly Realm. The surface of the arrows was more or less stained with the golden crow's blood, which hindered the power of the Ho-E divine arrows. He had thought of using the divine fire to remove the golden crow's blood. However, the effect was minimal. Although his divine fire could refine the blood, the speed was too slow. It could even be said to be extremely slow. Now, the immortal sorcerer fire was much more powerful than his own divine fire. He felt that the immortal sorcerer fire would be much better at removing the golden crow's blood. Thinking of this, Zhuan took out the Ho-E divine arrow and placed it in his palm. A ball of pitch-black flame gushed out of his palm and instantly enveloped the Ho-E divine arrow. Zhuan was pleasantly surprised to find that the golden crow's blood on the surface of the Ho-E divine arrow was gradually dissipating under the black flame. It is indeed effective. Zhuan was pleasantly surprised. The immortal sorcerer fire could really remove the golden crow's blood, and the effect was so obvious. At the current speed, the immortal sorcerer fire should be able to remove all the golden crow's blood from the surface of the Ho-E divine arrow in a few hours. After a few hours, the golden crow's blood on the surface of the Ho-E divine arrow in Zhuan's hand gradually disappeared, revealing the original appearance of the Ho-E divine arrow. Zhuan forcibly suppressed the surging aura of the Ho-E divine arrow. After putting away the Ho-E divine arrow, he took out the second one and continued to use the immortal sorcerer fire to remove the golden crow's blood. In this way, Zhuan spent most of the day removing all the golden crow's blood from the surface of the 3 Ho-E divine arrows. After doing this, Zhuan let out a sigh of relief. His eyes were filled with excitement. Furthermore, he wanted to see if he could draw the bow to the end after his Pangu's sacred body had reached the peak of the 7 stars realm. Zhuan put away the Ho-E divine arrow and took out the Ho-E divine bow. Holding the bow in his left hand and the bowstring in his right hand, he pulled it back. A terrifying killing intent gushed out, forming gusts of astral winds that swept over. Zhuan's hair fluttered in the wind. In one breath, Zhuan had reached half the distance. He felt a strong resistance. He didn't care about that. With a sudden tug, he pulled the bowstring to 2/3 of its length. At this moment, the resistance had already reached a terrifying level. The killing intent that erupted from the E-divine bow had also reached an extremely shocking level. Zhuan's right hand began to tremble. He continued to pull the bowstring, but the angle was very slow. When Zhuan pulled the bowstring to 3/4 of its length, the corner of his eyes twitched. A strong pressure accompanied by killing intent pressed down on him from all directions, causing him to involuntarily spit out a mouthful of blood. Zhuan hurriedly released the bowstring, only to hear a thunderous sound explode in the air. Moreover, the sound of thunder became denser and louder. In midair, there was a continuous roar of thunder. The cave that Zhuan was in shook violently. Then it began to collapse. Countless gravel fell from the surroundings. Zhuan didn't stay any longer and rushed out of the cave. The moment he left the cave collapsed. Phew! It seems that I can only pull the bowstring to 3/4 of its length. Otherwise, I will easily be injured by the backlash. Zhuan swallowed a healing pill and suppressed the injuries in his body in time. His eyes were full of fear. He knew that it was too early for him to fully draw the bowstring. Of course, if he forced himself to do so, the only result would be that he would be seriously injured. "Brother Zhuan, you're out." A voice attracted Zhuan's attention. Zhuan raised his head and saw Crepe Star slowly flying over from the sky. At this moment, Crepe Star's figure was slightly battered and exhausted. Zhuan could tell at a glance that Crepe Star should have just advanced not long ago. The aura on his body was rather chaotic, but it was very powerful. It was much more powerful than before. "Brother Crepe Star, congratulations on your successful advancement." Zhuan congratulated. Crepe Star couldn't help but laugh and said, "This is all thanks to Brother Zhua's Taishin Creation Spirit Pills. This time, I've advanced just in time to get those 5 Taishin Creation Spirit Pills. Fortunately, Brother Zhua, you insisted on giving those 5 Taishin Creation Spirit Pills to me. Otherwise, I might have failed this time." Zhuan smiled and didn't say anything. He didn't talk too much about the Taishin Creation Spirit Pills. Instead, he changed the topic and said, "Brother Crepe Star, after you got the inheritance of the Undying Bird, you should know how to leave this Undying Bird purgatory, right? How should we leave next?" "Well, about leaving the Undying Bird purgatory, the Undying Bird has already made plans. The Undying Bird's body is trapped here by the power of the Phoenix and can't escape at all. So it used the inheritance to lure the right person here. After the Undying Bird took over the body, it used the body of the inheritor to leave the Undying Bird purgatory. As for the place to leave, the Undying Bird has already prepared it. It's in the outer layer of the Black Heart Sea of Fire. In the depths, there is a teleportation formation. The Undying Bird secretly used its blood essence to set it up a long time ago when it was suppressed," Crepe Star said. "Good. Then let's go to the outer layer now." Zhuan nodded, and the two of them left this place. Soon, they left Crepe Star's cave residence. When Zhuan came to the Flame Avenue again, he finally knew why the Phoenix had specially set up such a flame avenue here. Its purpose should be to suppress the Undying Bird's body. Moreover, it had also extracted a part of the Undying Bird's divine soul to guard the entrance of the inner layer, separating the divine soul and the body with the Flame Avenue. It was almost impossible for the Undying Bird to leave the Undying Bird purgatory. The only way was to seize someone's body. Unfortunately, the Undying Bird had chosen the wrong person. It dared to seize Zhuowen's body, which was seeking its own death. If the two of them wanted to go to the Black Heart Sea of Fire, they had to pass through the outer layer of the canyon gathering place. And even if it wasn't on the way, Zhuan planned to go to the outer layer of the canyon gathering place. He had learned from Crepe Star that there were many powerful experts among the prisoners in the Undying Bird Purgatory. Among them, there were 7 experts who were sky-reaching masters. Among the 7 sky-reaching masters, 1 was at the middle stage of sky-reaching masters, while the other 6 were slightly weaker. They were all at the early stage of sky-reaching masters. This was a very powerful force. He planned to release all the prisoners in the Undying Bird Purgatory and then make trouble for the Phoenix people. When Zhuan and Crepe Star arrived at the outer layer of the canyon, they immediately found that the canyon was much more heavily guarded than before. The 2 of them were stopped by 2 guards at the entrance of the canyon. If the 2 of you want to enter, you have to pay 500 Heavenly Law Origin crystals. The 2 guards could clearly feel the powerful aura emitted by Zhuan and Crepe Star, so they didn't dare to go too far. Their tone was rather gentle. When I entered this canyon before, there was no such thing, right? Why do I have to pay Heavenly Law Origin crystals now? Zhuan frowned. Chapter 3287. Zhuan nodded when he heard that. After paying 1,000 Heavenly Law Origin crystals, he entered the valley with the Purple Star Sovereign. He had been to this canyon before and knew that although it was not small, it would definitely become crowded with the experts of the inner layer. Zhuan also knew that the factions in the canyon would be reshuffled. For example, the Tianluo sect, Blood Rock sect, and Jade Net sect that originally existed in the canyon would definitely be wiped out by the experts of the inner layer. As Zhuan had expected, after he entered the open space in the depths of the canyon, he immediately discovered that there were clearly many more people in the open space than before. Zhuan also found that the empty space was clearly divided into 3 areas before, but there was no such difference now. After entering the empty space, Zhuan asked around and found out that the Tianluo sect, Blood Rock sect, and Jade Net sect had been destroyed. The one in charge of this empty space was a foreign race called Suoinda. Zhuan was not unfamiliar with Suoinda. Before leaving the inner layer, the Purple Star Sovereign had introduced him to Suoinda. Suoinda could be considered the strongest expert aside from the Purple Star Sovereign. Among the 7 heaven-piercing masters, he was the only intermediate heaven-piercing master. Suddenly, Zhuan, who was strolling in the empty space, stopped in his tracks. The Purple Star Sovereign almost bumped into Zhuan. He also stopped in his tracks and looked at Zhuan in confusion. He asked, "Brother Zhua, why did you suddenly stop?" "I suddenly saw an acquaintance." Zhuan looked straight ahead as a faint smile appeared on the corners of his mouth. At the end of the street where his gaze landed, a snake-faced man with his hands behind his back walked over with an arrogant expression. Behind the snake-faced man was a group of armored soldiers. Wherever this army passed, the foreign races on the street would hurriedly make way for them. Their eyes were filled with fear, not daring to look at the snake-faced man. It was obvious that the snake-faced man had a high prestige here. Zhuan stood in the middle of the street without dodging. He just looked at the snake-faced man in front of him. At this moment, the snake-faced man was already close to Zhuan. He was very satisfied with the performance of the other foreign races on the street. He liked to enjoy this feeling of being high and mighty. For the first time, he felt that leaving the inner layer was such a wonderful thing. Of course, while he was floating in the air, he couldn't help but remember the young man from the devouring clan he had met on the fire path. Thinking of this, the snake-faced man's face became gloomy, but soon recovered. That young man from the devouring clan was indeed formidable. However, in his opinion, no matter how strong that young man from the devouring clan was, he wouldn't be as strong as Lord Suoingda. Lord Suoingda was a middle-stage connecting heaven lord, and he had been lucky enough to break through from half-step connecting heaven lord to early-stage connecting heaven lord. It was precisely because he had become the master of Skypiercer that he had such a high status. After the young man from the devouring clan left the room, he would come here. At that time, he would show him Master Suoingda's intimidation. "Since you dared to humiliate me back then, you must pay a corresponding price," the snake-faced man muttered in a low voice as he walked. "You're talking about me?" Suddenly, a chuckle came from in front of the snake-faced man. The snake-faced man didn't even look in front of him. He pointed his nose at Zhuan and said coldly, "Who do you think you are? Don't you know I'm crossing the street? Get the hell out of here." As soon as the snake-faced man finished speaking, he was ruthlessly slapped in the face. The snake-faced man was directly slapped to the ground. The snake-faced man roared angrily. Just as he was about to turn around and get up, a large foot suddenly stepped on his face and fiercely stomped on it. The snake-faced man's eyes were filled with terror. Just now, he had used all of his strength, but he was still trampled down. Now, he couldn't even raise his head. The strength of this foot was too great, as if a huge mountain was crushing down on his head. "It seems like you haven't learned the lesson I taught you last time." The cold voice came. The snake-faced man's eyes widened. He was too familiar with this voice. It was the young man from the Devouring clan. He was really unlucky for 8 lifetimes. As soon as he thought of this guy, he met him. Moreover, this guy had stomped on his head in front of so many people. He didn't have any face left. On the street, everyone gawked and dropped their jaws, looking at Zhuan with astonishment. They couldn't figure out the identity of this young man who had suddenly appeared. However, since he could stomp the snake-faced man on the ground and the latter couldn't get up, they knew that this strange young man wasn't someone to be trifled with. Moreover, his strength was definitely above the snake-faced man's. The troops behind the snake-faced man were afraid. They didn't dare to come forward to rescue the snake-faced man. "Senior, it's my fault. I blocked your way. I hope you won't mind this lowly one's offense. Forgive this junior." The snake-faced man hurried to beg for mercy. He had seen Zhuowen's ruthlessness. He was really afraid that this young man in front of him could kill him easily. If that happened, he would die in vain. "I can spare you, but take me to see Suoingda," Zhuowen said indifferently. The snake-faced man was startled. He didn't expect that Zhuowen would actually want to see Suoingda. "Did you hear me?" Zhuowen frowned and said with some displeasure. I know. Senior, can you lift your foot so that this junior can lead the way for you?" The snake-faced man said somewhat sullenly. Zhuowen nodded and lifted his foot. The snake-faced man hurriedly stood up. Only then did he see Zhuowen clearly in front of him. At the same time, the snake-faced man also saw Crepe Myrtle Star Sovereign standing beside Zhuowen. His pupils couldn't help but shrink. "Lord Crepe Myrtle Star Sovereign?" The snake-faced man asked with some uncertainty. Crepe Myrtle Star Sovereign said indifferently, "Take us to see Suoingda. We have something to discuss with him." The moment he saw Crepe Myrtle Star Sovereign, the last trace of hope in the snake-faced man's heart disappeared. Even Crepe Myrtle Star Sovereign was standing beside this young man. He somewhat doubted whether Suoingda could deal with Zhuowen. He knew that when Suoingda was in the inner layer, he was defeated by Crepe Myrtle Star Sovereign. This Crepe Myrtle Star Sovereign was truly unfathomable and very powerful. The snake-faced man didn't dare to be negligent in the slightest. He hurriedly led Zhuowen and Crepe Myrtle Star Sovereign to the center of the open space, the most luxurious pavilion. The snake-faced man's status wasn't low. When he entered the pavilion, he was basically unimpeded. This was a large conference hall with many solid wood chairs. In the conference hall, there were already 7 people sitting. At the head of the table was a middle-aged man with a dignified expression. Chapter 3288. Collapse of talks. The moment he saw the middle-aged man sitting at the head, Zhuowen knew that this middle-aged man should be Suoingda. Seeing how well-prepared Suoingda and the others were, Zhuowen knew that the snake-faced man should have informed Suoingda in advance. The moment Zhuowen and Crepe Myrtle Star entered the hall, Suoingda, who was sitting at the head, stood up and greeted them with a warm smile. However, Suoingda directly ignored Zhuowen, who was walking in front of him, and went to the Crepe Myrtle Star Sovereign behind him. He shook hands with the Crepe Myrtle Star Sovereign. "Brother Crepe Myrtle, you finally left the inner area. Now we are only waiting for you. Fortunately, you are here." Suoingda laughed. Zhuowen stood to the side and looked indifferently at Suoingda, who ignored him. He was not angry. He knew very well that this was Suoingda's idea. He was a stranger to Suoingda, while Crepe Myrtle Star was an expert who once defeated him. Naturally, Suoingda's attitude towards Crepe Myrtle Star was different from his. If it were anyone else, they would have the same attitude. However, Suoingda completely ignored Juan. This approach was a bit excessive, but Jun did not care too much. Crepe Myrtle Star smiled faintly and said, "Brother Suo is too polite. I have been in seclusion in my cave mansion, so I didn't know that the undying bird's soul at the entrance to the inner area had disappeared. Otherwise, I would have come out long ago." At this point, Crepe Myrtle Star pointed at Zhuowen and said, "Brother Suo, this is Zhuowen. He's my best friend. He's very powerful. Even I feel ashamed of my inferiority." Suoingda just smiled and casually cupped his hands toward Jun. Then he enthusiastically greeted Crepe Myrtle Star. In Suoingda's eyes, Zhuowen's aura was too weak. He only had the aura of a Genesis Lord. Therefore, he treated Crepe Myrtle Star's words as an exaggeration. Crepe Myrtle Star wanted to continue introducing Zhuowen to Suoingda, but Juan stopped him with a look. Crepe Myrtle Star Sovereign had no choice but to give up and was enthusiastically led by Suoingda to the second seat next to the head seat. Juan just casually found an empty seat and sat beside the snake-faced man. The snake-faced man originally wanted to remind Suoingda of Zhuowen's strength, but seeing Suoingda greeting Crepe Myrtle Star Monarch so enthusiastically, he knew that now was not the time to remind Suoingda. Otherwise, it would easily cause Suoingda's displeasure. "Brother Ziwei, we finally left that damned place in the inner layer and found such a good place in the outer layer. We plan to develop our forces here. In the future, when our forces are strong enough, we can join forces and see if we can force our way out of this undying bird purgatory. Now, my idea is very simple. I plan to let Brother Ziwei join my force, develop our force together, and find a way to leave this place. What do you think, Brother Ziwei?" Suoingda said with a smile. Crepe Myrtle Star Sovereign said indifferently, "Suoingda, you mean to say that you want me to be your subordinate and listen to your orders?" Suoingda said with a smile, "That's not it. Brother Ziwei, you are so strong, I can see it with my own eyes. I established the Canyon Sect and I just became the Sect Master. I plan to make you the Vice Sect Master of the Canyon Sect. Of course, you don't need to listen to my orders at all. You are on equal footing with me. Since we are on equal footing, why can't I be the Sect Master and you be the Vice Sect Master?" Crepe Myrtle Star Sovereign said mockingly. Suoingda was silent for a moment, his expression somewhat ugly, and said, "Brother Ziwei, this Canyon Sect was established by me after all. It's only right for me to be the Sect Master. If Brother Ziwei is not satisfied, I won't force you to join us." Crepe Myrtle Star Sovereign glanced at Jun and said indifferently, "Actually, I'm not interested in joining your so-called Canyon Sect. The reason I'm here is mainly to tell all of you one thing." "What is it?" Suoingda asked subconsciously. "I know how to leave the immortal bird purgatory," Crepe Myrtle Star Sovereign said. As soon as these words were spoken, the atmosphere in the hall immediately quieted down, and then it quickly became warm. Suoingda also said excitedly, "Brother Ziwei, you actually know how to leave the immortal bird purgatory. You are truly our great benefactor. To actually be willing to provide us with such information, we are truly grateful." Crepe Myrtle Star Sovereign frowned and said, "When did I say that I would provide you with such information for free?" The atmosphere in the hall suddenly became somewhat gloomy. Suoingda calmed down and said apologetically, "Brother Ziwei, I'm really sorry. I was too excited. Tell us, what do you need to tell us the location of the passage to leave the immortal bird purgatory?" Suoingda was very smart. He knew that since Crepe Myrtle Star Sovereign knew the passage to leave the immortal bird purgatory, he did not leave the immortal bird purgatory immediately. Instead, he came here. "What I want you to do is very simple. I want you to leave the immortal bird purgatory, and you must swear that after leaving the immortal bird purgatory, you will not escape from the Phoenix people. Instead, you will cause trouble for the Phoenix people. Each of you must kill 100 Phoenix people before you can leave the Phoenix people. Otherwise, don't even think about leaving this place." Crepe Myrtle Star Sovereign said indifferently. Instantly, the entire hall fell into a deathly silence. Suo Ingda and the others' faces stiffened, and their expressions were very unnatural. Was Crepe Myrtle Star Sovereign crazy? They were all prisoners who had been captured by the Phoenix people into the immortal bird purgatory. They knew how terrifying the Phoenix people were. After leaving the immortal bird purgatory, this guy actually planned to cause trouble for the Phoenix people. Did he really think that he was invincible? Of course, if you are not willing, I will not force you. Naturally, you will not be able to leave the immortal bird purgatory. Crepe Myrtle Star Sovereign said with a faint smile. Suo Ingda and the others did not speak, and the atmosphere in the entire hall became very quiet and strange. Brother Crepe Myrtle, I think you also know how powerful the Phoenix people are. If you want us to cause trouble for the Phoenix people, you are asking us to court death. I can't agree to this. Suo Ingda said coldly. The rest of the people present also voiced their objections. Crepe Myrtle Star Sovereign stood up and said, "In that case, we have nothing to talk about. I will spread the news in this canyon. If anyone is willing, they will naturally agree. Brother, let's go." After saying that, Crepe Myrtle Star Sovereign stood up and strode towards the door. Wait! Suo Ingda stomped his right foot and blocked Crepe Myrtle Star Sovereign's path. Brother Suo, have you thought it through? Crepe Myrtle Star Sovereign stopped and said, Crepe Myrtle Star Sovereign, you are too arrogant. Do you think that I, Suo Ingda, am afraid of you just because you defeated me? Today, all the experts of the inner layer are gathered here. You can defeat me, but can you defeat our joint forces? Suo Ingda sneered. After Suo Ingda finished speaking, the 6 people in the hall all stood up. Their eyes were filled with killing intent as they stared at Crepe Myrtle Star Sovereign. Chapter 3289. Arrangement. The snake-faced man's eyes flickered as he hesitated. He knew how powerful Zhuowen and Crepe Myrtle Star were. He doubted whether the people in the hall could really keep Crepe Myrtle Star and Zhuowen here. If you don't want to be beaten up, you'd better sit here and don't move. Just as the snake-faced man was hesitating, Yin, who was sitting beside him, said in a low voice. The snake-faced man glanced at Zhuowen, his eyes full of fear. In the end, he did not have the courage to stand up. Crepe Myrtle Star stopped at the entrance of the hall and looked calmly at the people in the hall who stood up. He laughed. Crepe Myrtle Star, you're about to die. How can you still laugh? Suo Ingda could not help but mock. I'm laughing because you're all too ridiculous. Suo Ingda, you're just a defeated opponent. The others in the hall are just a mob. Are you sure you want to stop me? Crepe Myrtle Star said disdainfully. Humph. You'll know soon enough whether we're a mob or not. Suo Ingda snorted coldly and stomped his right foot. The aura of a middle-stage Tongtian lord exploded as he threw a punch at Crepe Myrtle Star. Slapped. However, the moment Suo Ingda approached Zhuowen, he was slapped to the ground. Then, Crepe Myrtle Star stomped on his chest, suppressing him. At the same time, an extremely terrifying aura erupted from Crepe Myrtle Star's body. The moment this aura appeared in the hall, the entire hall shook violently. An unprecedented pressure crushed everyone in the hall, causing them to involuntarily kneel on the ground. Bang! The snake-faced man could not resist this terrifying pressure. The chair under his butt cracked and he sat on the ground. He trembled as he said, Tong-un Lord late stage? Among those present, only Zhuowen was as calm as still water. Moreover, he was still sitting cross-legged as he tasted the tea on the tea table to his right. Suo Ingda was stunned and did not dare to move. He looked regretful. He did not expect Crepe Myrtle Star to have advanced. Back when Crepe Myrtle Star Monarch had yet to advance, he had already been defeated by the former. Now that Crepe Myrtle Star Sovereign had advanced, the gap between them had widened. He was no different from an ant. No wonder Crepe Myrtle Star Sovereign did not take him seriously at all. Do you still want to stop me? Crepe Myrtle Star Sovereign asked calmly. Suo Ingda hurriedly said, Brother Ziwei, it was a misunderstanding just now. We won't dare again. Do you think it's enough just to say that you don't dare? You only have 2 choices now. The first is to swear an oath to the heavenly Tao to leave the Phoenix Purgatory and come with us to wreak havoc on the Phoenix people. The second is to die. Zhuan stood up and walked over to Crepe Myrtle's star. What? Who do you think you are? You actually forced us to cause a ruckus among the Phoenix people. Brother Crepe Myrtle hasn't said anything yet, so what are you saying? Suoingda looked coldly at Zhuan and said with some disdain. Unfortunately, just as Suoingda finished speaking, Crepe Myrtle's star sovereign sent Suoingda flying with a kick. Crepe Myrtle's star sovereign did not show any mercy. This kick directly injured Suoingda, causing him to constantly cough up blood. You don't have the right to be disrespectful to Brother Zhua. Even I have to respect him. Who do you think you are? How dare you boast shamelessly to him? Crepe Myrtle's star sovereign said coldly. Suoingda was stunned. He finally understood that the young man standing next to Crepe Myrtle's star sovereign with a low cultivation had such a great influence on him. However, he could not understand why Crepe Myrtle's star sovereign would treat Zhuan as an equal when his cultivation did not seem to be very high. This was too strange. Zhuan stopped Crepe Myrtle's star sovereign and ignored Suoingda, who was in a daze. Instead, he sat down at the head of the hall. I'll tell you the truth. I'm not asking you to cause a ruckus among the Phoenix people without giving you any benefits. As long as you agree, I can help all of you raise your cultivation by a small realm in a short period of time. As soon as Zhuan said this, everyone in the hall began to breathe rapidly. They looked at Zhuan in disbelief. But soon, a look of doubt appeared in their eyes. They wondered if Zhuan was boasting. They were all masters of the heaven-piercing realm. At their level, other than great opportunities and heaven-defying divine pills, it was impossible for them to advance in a short period of time. They had to rely on the accumulation of years and months to have a very small chance of advancing. Now, Zhuan actually claimed that he could help them advance in a short period of time. Wasn't this just boasting? What's in front of you now is a great opportunity. I'll tell you the truth. Brother Zhua is a heaven-piercing alchemist. He can refine heaven-piercing divine pills. Helping you raise your cultivation is not difficult. Crepe Myrtle's star sovereign sneered. What? He's actually a heaven-piercing alchemist? Suoingda blurted out in shock. The rest of the people also sucked in a breath of cold air. But soon, their gazes were filled with a blazing light. I've given you a choice. Now you should also make your choice. Whether you want to die or advance, it's up to you. Zhuan said indifferently. Master Zhua, I'm willing to follow you to cause trouble for the Phoenix people. Suoingda, who had been opposing, was the first to agree. Following Suoingda's agreement, the rest of the people in the hall also agreed. Master Zhua, when do you plan to refine divine pills for us? You see, I'm currently at the middle stage of the heaven-piercing realm. Do you have a way to raise me to the peak of the middle stage of the heaven-piercing realm? The atmosphere in the hall eased up. Suoingda ignored the seriousness of his injuries and hurriedly stood up. He came in front of Zhuan and asked enthusiastically. You should first swear a heavenly Tao oath. As for your cultivation, I'll naturally help you raise it. Why are you in such a hurry? Zhuan said indifferently. Suoingda immediately lost his temper and hurriedly swore a heavenly Tao oath in front of Zhu. The others followed suit one after another. Suoingda, next, I want you to issue an order to all the foreign races in the canyon. Tell them that I, Tun, am a heaven-piercing alchemist and can refine divine pills that can help their cultivation advance further. Moreover, I know the exit to the Phoenix Purgatory. If they are willing to follow me for a short period of time and cause trouble for the Phoenix people and swear a heavenly Tao oath, I, Tun, will refine the corresponding divine pills for them to raise their cultivation and even let them out. Of course, we won't force those who don't agree. However, they won't be able to enjoy the benefits mentioned above. Zhuan said indifferently. Hearing this, Suoingda accepted the order and left the hall to issue the order. In Suoingda's heart, a heaven-piercing alchemist was an existence that was even more respected than a late-stage heaven-piercing realm expert. He had already put away all his previous contempt and treated Zhuan with respect and reverence. He did not dare to cross the line in the slightest. After Suoingda left, Dawn pointed at the snake-faced man in the seat below. Master Zhuo, are you calling me? The snake-faced man asked with some uncertainty. Who else is there besides you? Get the hell over here, Zhuo said. The snake-faced man did not dare to be negligent and hurriedly crawled in front of Jun. Chapter 3290. Brewing in the following period of time, the many foreign races in the canyon of the Undying Bird Purgatory were abnormally excited. This was because they had received news that the new master of the canyon was a heaven-level alchemist who could refine heaven-level divine pills. Moreover, this mysterious new master was said to know the way to leave the Undying Bird Purgatory. This mysterious new master had spread the word that as long as they agreed to follow him to cause trouble for the Phoenix people after leaving the Undying Bird Purgatory, he would refine divine pills that could raise their cultivation and bring them out of the Undying Bird Purgatory. Once this news came out, most of the foreign races in the canyon agreed without hesitation. This kind of result was out of Zhuowen's expectations. He thought that most of the foreign races in the canyon were selfish and valued their own lives very much. They should have weighed his conditions for a long time. But now he was wrong. The foreign races in the canyon agreed too quickly. This was not Zhuowen's fault. After all, he had stayed in the Undying Bird Purgatory for too short a time. However, these foreign races had stayed for at least 1,000 years, or even tens of thousands of years. If they were to cultivate for such a long time, it would be fine. At most, they would be a little bored. However, in the Undying Bird Purgatory, this kind of dangerous place that was filled with endless black flames at any time, the heavenly energy was very thin. Even cultivating was very difficult. Staying in this kind of place for a few years was already torturous, let alone tens of thousands or even hundreds of thousands of years. After all, the environment in the Undying Bird Purgatory was not a place filled with terrifying heavenly energy like the Undying Bird's Nest. The snake-faced man's collection of medicinal ingredients was also very smooth. With Zhuowen's conditions, many of the foreign races in the canyon rushed to hand over all the medicinal ingredients on their bodies, just so that after Zhuowen refined the divine pellets, they would be able to get more. In a short 3 days, the snake-faced man had given all the medicinal ingredients he had collected to Jun. What surprised Zhuowen was that the amount of medicinal ingredients he had collected was much more than he had planned. After the snake-faced man handed the medicinal ingredients to Zhuowen, he handed the corresponding name list to Zhuowen. The names of the various foreign races were clearly written on the list, and the amount of medicinal herbs they had donated was clearly listed behind each name. Zhuowen glanced at the snake-faced man. Although this guy bullied the weak and feared the strong, he was meticulous in his work. Well done, this is your reward. Zhuowen took out a divine pill and threw it to the snake-faced man. The snake-faced man subconsciously took the elixir. But the moment he saw the elixir, his pupils shrank and he almost cried out. Supreme Harmony Spiritual Energy Pill? I'm not dreaming, am I? Grandmaster Zhuo, why don't you just give me this divine pill? Don't you need anything else in exchange? The snake-faced man looked at Zhuowen nervously, afraid that Zhuowen would go back on his word. The main effect of the Supreme Harmony Spiritual Energy Pill was to help cultivators in the early stage of the Heaven Ascension Master to the middle stage of the Heaven Ascension Master. This divine pill was a divine pill that could only be found by chance in the primitive heaven realm. Moreover, this divine pill was too important to a cultivator in the early stage of the Heaven Ascension Master. Zhuowen smiled faintly and said, It's just a Supreme Harmony Spiritual Energy Pill. If you can do what I ask you to do, you will have a chance to get even better divine pills. Hearing this, the snake-faced man was excited. He looked at Zhuowen with reverence. Now, the snake-faced man felt more and more that Zhuowen was unfathomable. At the same time, he also had a plan in his heart. If he could follow such an expert, it might be a very wise choice. Okay, you can go now. For the next period of time, I need to go into seclusion to refine pills. Zhuowen said indifferently. The snake-faced man did not dare to be negligent. He bowed to Zhuowen and slowly retreated. After the snake-faced man left, Zhuowen set up a powerful restriction around the area. A wry smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. There were nearly 10,000 alien tribes in the canyon. In other words, he had to take out at least 10,000 divine pills. Of course, most of the divine pills were not of high grade. With Zhuowen's level, he could refine them easily. However, even so, Zhuowen would need a lot of time to refine all of them. Zhuowen took a deep breath and stopped thinking about it. Instead, he took out the imperial pill furnace and planned to start refining the simple divine pills. Time passed by minute by minute. In the blink of an eye, several months had passed. Many alien tribes in the canyon were waiting anxiously. Purple Star Sovereign stood outside Zhuowen's place of seclusion. He looked a little worried. After the snake-faced man handed over the list, he also took a copy. He knew how many divine pills Zhuowen needed to refine for this seclusion. Purple Star Sovereign was a little worried that Zhuowen's body could not take so many divine pills at once. Suddenly, the door in front of him opened. Zhuowen slowly walked out of the room, looking tired. "Brother Zhuo, are you all right?" Purple Star Sovereign asked. Zhuowen shook his head and said, "I'm fine. I'm just a little tired." With that, Zhuowen took out a spirit ring and handed it to Purple Star Sovereign. "Brother Purple Star Sovereign, this spirit ring contains all the divine pills I have refined during this period of time. Not a single one is missing. Help me distribute them according to the list. Before you distribute them, make sure you know who is on the list. Don't try to fish in troubled waters. I need to go back and cultivate for a while. I won't go out with you." After saying that, Zhuowen re-entered the room. In the past few months, Zhuowen had been refining divine pills day and night. His mind was almost exhausted. He was too tired. He had to have a good rest. Seeing Zhuowen re-enter the room, Purple Star Sovereign did not disturb him. Instead, he took the spirit ring and left the place. Zhuowen returned to his room and immediately fell asleep. His mental exhaustion was too terrifying. Other than sleeping, it was impossible to recover by meditating. Zhuowen slept for 10 days and 10 nights before finally waking up. When he opened the door, he found Purple Star Sovereign, Suoingda, the snake-faced man, and the other experts in the canyon standing outside his door. When they saw Zhuowen open the door, they all revealed relaxed expressions. "What's wrong? Why are all of you standing outside my door?" Zhuowen asked in surprise. Suoingda stepped forward respectfully and said, "Master Zhuo, it's actually like this. We're stuck on the issue of when to leave the undying bird purgatory. We can't make up our minds. So, I've specially come to ask for your opinion. None of you have consumed the divine pills yet, right?" Zhuowen asked with a frown. "Yes, because we have consumed the divine pills, we have to start a period of seclusion. At that time, we are not sure when we will come out of seclusion, so we plan to first set the time to leave the undying bird purgatory before deciding to go into seclusion," Suoingda said with a flattering smile. Chapter 3291. The Plan. Suoingda and the others hesitated for a while before agreeing with Zhuowen. They cupped their hands at Zhuowen and left one after another, intending to go into seclusion to break through. After everyone left, Zhuowen looked at Crepe Myrtle Star and said in a deep voice, "Brother Crepe Myrtle, how many people can the teleportation array in the Black Heart Sea of Flames transport?" Crepe Myrtle Star shook his head and said, "Actually, I'm not sure how many people the teleportation array can transport because I only know about it from the inheritance of the undying bird, and the information is incomplete." "Do you know the exact location?" Zhuowen asked. "I do know that. Brother Zhuo, are you going to explore the place yourself?" Crepe Myrtle Star asked in surprise. "We don't know whether the teleportation array is still there or not. I'm going there now to confirm it. And you know that if we really want to cause trouble for the Phoenix people, we can't just shout a few slogans and rush in with passion. We must have a careful plan. Otherwise, the people of the undying bird purgatory are not enough," Zhuowen said in a deep voice. Crepe Myrtle Star nodded. Zhuowen was right. The Phoenix people were not simple. Back then, the reason why Zhuowen had been able to barge into the Phoenix clan so easily was because he had lured away the main powerhouses of the Phoenix clan. Otherwise, he would not have been able to break into the Phoenix people alone against the 12 fire gods led by the 2 Xuanhua guardians. Of course, Now that his Pangus sacred body had advanced again, Yuan was not afraid of the two Xuanhua guardians working together. At the same time, Yuan was mainly afraid of the mysterious Phoenix Master of the Phoenix people. Generally speaking, the Phoenix Master was not among the Phoenix people. However, Crepe Myrtle Star had reminded him that some time ago, before he entered the Undying Bird Purgatory, he heard that the Phoenix Master seemed to be returning. The authenticity of this news was uncertain, but it reminded Zhuan that the Phoenix people still had the Phoenix Master, who was an even more terrifying expert. If the Phoenix Master really returned to the Phoenix people, then he would have to be careful. After all, this Phoenix Master was an expert above the great clan elder and the two mystical flame protectors. He guessed that she was at least a late-stage heavenly master expert. Although Crepe Myrtle Star Monarch had also reached the late stage of Heaven Ascension Master, he had only just advanced. There was still a gap between him and a veteran like the Phoenix Master. He had no choice but to guard against this. Zhuan was worried that something might happen, so he planned to go to the transmission array to take a look. If possible, he would first use the transmission array to leave, and after making all the preparations outside, he would teleport everyone in the Undying Bird Purgatory away. Zhuan told Crepe Myrtle Star his plan in full detail. After hearing this, Crepe Myrtle Star agreed with Zhuan's plan. After the two of them made their decision, they secretly left the canyon. With their strength, it was too easy for them to leave the canyon without anyone noticing. After leaving the canyon, the two of them quickly rushed in the direction of the Black Heart Sea of Flames. Not long after, the two of them arrived at the Black Heart Sea of Flames that burned with terrifying black flames. "Brother Zhua, follow behind me. I can't sense the specific direction inside the Black Heart Sea of Flames, but I have the inheritance of the Undying Bird, so I can use it to sense it." As Crepe Myrtle Star Monarch spoke, he took the lead and walked in front. The moment Crepe Myrtle Star Monarch entered the Black Heart Sea of Flames, the terrifying black flames that grew endlessly in the Black Heart Sea of Flames slowly separated, forming a spacious path. Zhuan followed Crepe Myrtle Star Monarch into the Black Heart Sea of Flames, and the surrounding black flames all made way. The two of them walked very quickly and instantly entered the center of the Black Heart Sea of Flames. After about a few hours, Crepe Myrtle Star Monarch stopped. Zhuan also stopped. He followed Crepe Myrtle Star Monarch's gaze and looked ahead. A few hundred meters ahead, the black flames were extremely dense and terrifying. These black flames constantly swept and gathered together, forming an extremely terrifying black flame storm. Although Zhuan had never experienced it personally, he could feel how terrifying the power of the black flame storm was. If it weren't for Crepe Myrtle Star Monarch, he wouldn't be so relaxed now. "Brother Zhua, the teleportation array should be inside this storm," Crepe Myrtle Star Monarch said as he strode forward and arrived in front of the black flame storm. With a wave of his right hand, the black flame storm dissipated. Zhuan couldn't help but sigh in his heart. The person who obtained the inheritance of the Undying Bird had special privileges. But soon, his attention was attracted by the pattern at the location where the dissipated storm was. This pattern was in the shape of a circle, and on the surface of the pattern, pitch-black flames burned. Zhuan looked at this pattern and could tell that it should be a teleportation array. However, to his disappointment, the structure of this teleportation array was very simple. With his attainments in Array Dao, he could tell at a glance that this teleportation array could only teleport two people. This was already the limit. Moreover, this teleportation array was a one-time use. In other words, the teleportation array would disappear after he used it. "Brother Zhua, is there something wrong with this teleportation array?" Seeing Zhuan's troubled expression, Purple Star Sovereign had a bad premonition and could not help but ask. "It's a big problem. This transmission array can only be used once, and it can only transport two people at most." Zhuan sighed. What should we do then?" Crepe Myrtle Star Sovereign said in shock. "It's all right. Brother Ziwei, have you forgotten that I'm also a divine master of divine formations?" Zhuan asked. Hearing this, Crepe Myrtle Star calmed down. Zhuan, who was standing in front of him, was an array master. He was much more powerful than the half-baked Undying Bird. What was there to be worried about? Brother Ziwei, please stand guard for me. I'll modify this teleportation array. After Zhuan finished speaking, he threw out beast bone array discs and began to modify the teleportation array. In half a day, Zhuan modified the teleportation array and forcefully upgraded it to the Divine Master level. Moreover, the teleportation array was much larger than before. The new teleportation array could teleport hundreds of people at a time, and it could teleport hundreds of times. It was enough to teleport all the alien races in the Undying Bird's purgatory. Moreover, Zhuan also knew the specific location of the teleportation array through the connection of this teleportation array. Generally speaking, Zhuan wouldn't be able to determine the exact location of the teleportation. The main reason was that the immortal bird's teleportation formation was too simple. Coupled with Zhuan's superb array Dao, he was able to determine the location of the teleportation. What made him heave a sigh of relief was that the location of the teleportation array was not within the Phoenix people. It should be a long distance away from the Phoenix people. Speaking of which, that was the Undying Bird's backup plan. It was going to teleport itself out after it possessed the host. It could not have set the teleportation array within the Phoenix people. Otherwise, it would be a trap for him. Brother Ziwei, I'll teleport out first to check on the situation. You stay here and keep the alien races in check. When I come back, we'll leave this place together and cause trouble for the Phoenix people, Zhuan said. Brother Zhuo, be careful. The Phoenix people are not to be trifled with. Crepe Myrtle Star said. Don't worry. After Zhuan finished speaking, he activated the teleportation array. Chapter 3292. Wu Song Conference. In an inconspicuous little hill several million kilometers away from the Phoenix tribe, a streak of white light appeared. But the white light disappeared in a flash, and a figure slowly walked out from the white light. This figure was Zhuan, who had been sent out from the Undying Bird Purgatory. Zhuan climbed to the top of the cliff at the edge of the valley and looked into the distance. Looking at the Phoenix people in the distance, his eyes narrowed as they flickered with a cold light. Although he did not find Mu Chenxue in the Undying Bird Purgatory this time, at least he knew where Mu Chenxue was. This time, he had to properly cause trouble for the Phoenix people. He had to let the Phoenix people know that his woman was not easy to touch. Moreover, he urgently needed to know where the Phoenix people's Great Elder and Third Elder had taken Mu Chenxue to. And all of this had to start with causing trouble for the Phoenix people. Of course, one would not be that reckless. The time was not ripe yet. Just wait and see. The pain Chenxue suffered will be repaid by your people. Zhuan muttered to himself as he left the valley. Phoenix Blood City, after the incident with Zhuan, had regained its peace. The only difference was that the original Bloodshed Tea House had been forcefully demolished by the experts of the Phoenix people. Now, the original location of the Bloodshed Tea House was a small restaurant that was not big or small. It was very inconspicuous. Because the news of Zhuan entering the Undying Bird Purgatory was known by the experts of the Phoenix people, Phoenix Blood City was not heavily guarded and was not heavily guarded. After Zhuan changed his appearance, it was very easy for him to sneak into Phoenix Blood City. Not long after Zhuan entered Phoenix Blood City, in front of the street, he saw a figure wearing a black robe that covered his face. That figure glanced at Zhuan indifferently before turning into a secluded alley. Zhuan followed him in. The figure stopped and took off the black robe, revealing an appearance that was exactly the same as Zhuan's before he changed his appearance. "You've finally come. That Undying Bird Purgatory is really strange. After you entered, the connection between us was actually cut off." This black-robed man was Zhuan's true body. Back then, his original body was guarding the Green Blood Tea House, controlling the formation to hold back Feng Buming, the two guardians of Xuanhua, and a group of experts, creating an opportunity for his clone to break into the Phoenix people. After the formation of the Emerald Blood Tea House was broken, his original body slipped away in advance, keeping a low profile and concealing his tracks. However, after his clone entered the Undying Bird Purgatory, the connection with his original body was completely cut off. It was only after his clone came out of the Undying Bird Purgatory that he learned about his original body's situation. In addition, the original body and avatar were not far from Phoenix Blood City. In addition, the Phoenix clan had already removed the alert of Phoenix Blood City. Therefore, the avatar and the original body planned to meet up in Phoenix Blood City. Zhuan carefully sized up his original body and found that his original body's cultivation had already reached the peak of the Creator Realm and was not far from the Creator Realm. Original body, it's about time for you to break through, Zhuan said with a faint smile. The original body nodded and said calmly, I've already finished absorbing the heavenly blue frost Ganoderma. I can break through at any time. However, I'm a human after all. If I break through in the primitive heavenly realm, it'll be easy for my aura to leak. Therefore, I've been suppressing my cultivation and not allowing myself to break through smoothly. Hearing this, Zhuowen knew what the main body meant and said, You enter the great world first and break through your cultivation realm before talking about it again. His original body naturally did not refuse and turned into a stream of light and entered the great world. Soon, Zhuan felt an extremely terrifying energy fluctuation coming from the great world. He knew that his original body should be in the great world undergoing a tribulation to break through. As for Zhuowen, he was not in a hurry. He found an inn in Phoenix Blood City and stayed there. In the next few days, Zhuowen inquired about a lot of information about the Phoenix people in Phoenix Blood City. He learned that the mysterious Phoenix Master of the Phoenix people had returned and was preparing for the Sorcerer Song Conference that would be held in a few months. Originally, Zhuowen was not interested in the Sorcerer Song Conference. However, when he learned that the Sorcerer Song Conference was held to obtain a place to baptize the power of the Sorcerer Ancestor in the Sorcerer tribe, he was instantly interested. After asking around, he finally found out what the Sorcerer Song Conference was all about. It was said that the Sorcerer tribe was the initiator of the Sorcerer Song Conference, but it was promoted by the 10 great tribes of the primitive heavenly realm. In the entire primitive heavenly realm, basically all the tribes knew that the Sorcerer tribe had 3 corpses of the Sorcerer Ancestor. Although the Sorcerer Ancestor had fallen, his physical body was immortal and the power of the Sorcerer Ancestor would be passed on forever. The power of the Sorcerer Ancestor was extremely beneficial to all the tribes in the primitive heavenly realm. It could mutate their bloodline and increase their strength and potential greatly. The fact that the Sorcerer tribe had 3 corpses of the Sorcerer Ancestor was undoubtedly a crime caused by their wealth, and they were attacked by many tribes. Although the Sorcerer tribe was powerful, it was difficult to stand alone. It was impossible for them to fight against all the tribes in the primitive heavenly realm. Therefore, the Sorcerer tribe finally compromised and sealed the space of the 3 corpses of the Sorcerer Ancestor in the Sorcerer Magical Pond. Every 100 years, the Sorcerer Song Conference would be held. All the tribes in the primitive heavenly realm were eligible to participate in the selection of the Sorcerer Ancestor. In the end, 9 people would be chosen to enter the Sorcerer Magical Pond to be baptized by the power of the Sorcerer Ancestor. Of course, there was a limit to the number of people who could participate in the Sorcerer Song Conference. They had to have a bone age of less than 10,000 years. Otherwise, if those old monsters who had cultivated for tens of thousands of years or even hundreds of thousands of years also participated, there would be no need to compete at all. If it was discovered that there was a foreign tribe with a bone age of more than 10,000 years, they would be killed on the spot by the experts of the Sorcerer tribe. The rules of the Sorcerer Song Conference were so strict that the other tribes in the primitive heavenly realm did not dare to disobey. The corpses of the Sorcerer Ancestor? Zhuowen's eyes lit up. He had to participate in the Sorcerer Song Conference. His Pangu sacred body had reached a bottleneck. Although he had reached the peak of 7 stars, he needed the Sorcerer Ancestor's venomous insect to advance from 7 stars to 8 stars. Moreover, he suspected that it was much more difficult to advance his Pangu sacred body than before. He was afraid that one Sorcerer Ancestor's venomous insect might not be able to help him advance to 8 stars. However, the Sorcerer tribe had 3 corpses of the Sorcerer Ancestor. Wasn't this made for him? He had to participate in the Sorcerer Song Conference. He asked around and found out that the Sorcerer Song Conference would officially begin in 4 months. In other words, he had to realize his plan of causing havoc in the Phoenix people within 4 months. He was confident that Suo Ingda and the others would not go into seclusion for more than 3 months after consuming his divine elixir. He still had time. His main concern now was the Phoenix Master of the Phoenix people. She was a big variable. I have to send the Phoenix Master away in advance in 3 months. Otherwise, she will be a bad variable. Chapter 3293. The Xiantian Auction House. The Xiantian Auction House was a famous auction house in the Eldritch Heaven domain. All the large-scale auctions in the Eldritch Heaven domain were held in the Xiantian Auction House. Moreover, the foreign races that entered the Xiantian Auction House did not dare to act rashly. Even the 10 great races followed the rules when entering the Xiantian Auction House. The reason why the Xiantian Auction House was so prestigious was said to be because it had the support of many big clans, including the Sorcerer tribe, behind it. It was very complicated. It was precisely because of the Xiantian Auction House's strong background that the people of the 10 great races did not dare to act rashly. Moreover, the Xiantian Auction House was very unyielding and did not give face to the large races at all. If anyone committed a crime in the auction house, they would be severely punished. It was because of the Xiantian Auction House's business style that many large and small races, as well as some itinerant cultivators, were willing to put their good things in the auction house. This was because they knew that the Xiantian Auction House would not casually take their things. Otherwise, the reputation that the Xiantian Auction House had built up with great difficulty would be completely destroyed. Today, an uninvited guest came to the Xiantian Auction House. This person knocked on the appraisal counter of the auction house and attracted the attention of a young foreign race person at the counter. The young foreign race person looked at the young man in front of him with some displeasure and said coldly, "If you want to auction something, line up at the back." The business of the Xiantian Auction House was very good. There was already a long line in front of the appraisal counter. This person walked up to the counter and cut the line, causing the people in the line to be unhappy. There were even a few foreign races who rubbed their fists together as if this person had really cut the line and would not be polite to him. "I have something that you can't appraise. You need to get your manager here," the person said indifferently. The young foreign race person at the counter glared at the young man and said unkindly, "Are you questioning my appraisal ability? Is the thing you have on you a Tao affirmation treasure? Oh, look at how young you are. I think you haven't even reached the Tao affirmation realm yet. How dare you brag in front of me? You're overestimating yourself." The young man helplessly took out a jade bottle and handed it to the young foreign race person. "Try it. See if you can appraise the thing inside." The young man snorted coldly and took the jade bottle. He opened the cork and a refreshing medicinal fragrance wafted out. All of the foreign races in the front line had intoxicated looks on their faces. The young outsider hurriedly closed the lid and returned the jade bottle to the young man. Only then did he look at the young man in front of him with a grave expression. "Wait a moment, I'll call our supervisor." After the young foreign race finished speaking, he hurriedly entered the inner room. At this moment, all of the foreign races in the group were bewildered. Some of them were even looking at the young man with greed in their eyes. They had all smelled the medicinal fragrance just now. Although they did not know what kind of divine pill it was definitely not a low-level one. The young man turned a blind eye to the surrounding gazes and stood silently in front of the counter, waiting. Not long after, the young man came out from the inner room and respectfully opened the door on the side of the counter, inviting the young man in. "Our manager is waiting for you in the inner room. You can go in and talk to him," the young man said respectfully. The young man nodded and entered the inner room. The inner room was not big, but the decorations were extremely luxurious. In the middle of the room, a middle-aged man leaned lazily on a soft chair. When he saw the young man enter, he stood up enthusiastically and shook hands with the young man. "This humble servant is the manager of the mysterious sky auction house, Gao Tsin. This humble servant is Jun," the young man said with a smile. That's right. The young man who came to the mysterious sky auction house was Jun. The reason he dared to use his real name was mainly because the mysterious sky auction house was very far away from the Phoenix people. It almost crossed half of the primitive heaven domain. It took him 7 days to reach this place and travel at full speed. This was not the territory of the Phoenix people. The Phoenix people's arrest warrant for him did not affect this place at all. So it's Brother Zhua. Nice to meet you. Gao Tsun rubbed his hands and said enthusiastically, just now, my shop assistant said that you have a divine pill that even she couldn't identify. It's said to be at least a creation-grade divine pill. I wonder if Brother Zhua can let me take a look and have a look? Of course. Zhuan naturally took out the jade bottle and handed it to Gao, and Gao Tsun opened the jade bottle and took out a divine pill. Suddenly, the entire room was filled with a terrifying medicinal power. If Gao Tsun's cultivation was not at the Grandmaster realm and forcefully suppressed the medicinal power would have spread outside. Great Mystery Creation Spirit Pill? Oh my God, am I seeing things? Gao Tsun abruptly stood up, holding a divine pill in his hand as he danced with excitement. You're not seeing things. This is the Great Mystery Creation Spirit Pill. I plan to sell this divine pill to the mysterious sky auction house. Zhuan said with a faint smile. Gao Tsun calmed down. His eyes flickered and he smiled. Brother Zhua, how about this? The mysterious sky auction house will buy this divine pill. You name a price. No matter how high it is, we'll buy it. Sorry, I plan to auction this divine pill. I don't plan to sell it to your auction house. Zhuan said with a shake of his head. Gao Tsun's expression flickered. A terrifying aura suddenly erupted from his body and suppressed Zhuan. He said in a deep voice, Brother Zhua, selling this divine pill to our auction house can be said to be done once and for all for you. Why put it up for auction? It's so time-consuming and exhausting. I think you'd better agree. Are you threatening me? Zhuan slowly stood up, and an even more terrifying aura erupted. Gao Tsun's expression changed drastically. The aura on his body was instantly suppressed, and then his chest suffered an extremely terrifying force. Puchi! Gao Tsun spat out a mouthful of blood. His face was pale and he retreated repeatedly. He looked at the young man in front of him in surprise. He was at the initial stage of the Grandmaster realm. In the mysterious sky auction house, he could be said to be a powerhouse second only to the president. He was actually suppressed by this young man whose cultivation did not seem high. Supervisor Gao, I think you're a smart person. It's best if you don't play tricks. If this divine pill is auctioned well, I don't mind giving you a Supreme Harmony Spiritual Energy Pill. Zhuan glanced at Gao Tsun indifferently. He took out the Supreme Harmony Spiritual Energy Pill, shook it in front of Gao Tsun's eyes, and put it away. Of course, if you violate the rules of your auction house and rob it, I don't mind killing you and then making your actions public. Do you think the people will support me or you? Zhuan said indifferently. Gao Tsun trembled and completely surrendered. Although he coveted the Profound Creation Spirit Pill, the Supreme Harmony Spiritual Energy Pill that Zhuan took out was the most useful to him. Brother Zhua, you must be joking. You're so young and promising. I really don't dare to play tricks in front of you. Gao Tsun said with a flattering smile. That'd better be the case. There are 2 bottles of Profound Creation Spirit Pills in this jade bottle. Before the auction, you must do your best to promote it. It's best to promote it to the Phoenix people. The auction will be held in 3 months. Zhuan said. Gao Tsun's eyes flickered, and he quickly agreed with a smile. By the way, does your auction house auction slaves? Zhuan asked. We're also auctioning off slaves. Brother Zhua, do you want to buy slaves? Gao Tsun asked. This female slave will be auctioned together with the divine pill in 3 months. Zhuan waved his sleeve and threw out the saintess of the Phoenix people. She is... Gao Tsun was puzzled. The saintess of the Phoenix people. Zhuan said indifferently. Chapter 3294. Alarmed, Gao Tsun stared blankly at the Phoenix people's saintess, who was lying on the ground, completely powerless. Brother Zhua, is this really the Phoenix people's saintess? I remember that the Phoenix people were captured by a human on the Star Wars battlefield. How did she end up in your hands? Gao Tsun asked, puzzled. I killed that human and found the Phoenix people's saintess. However, the Phoenix People's Saintess is of no use to me, so I plan to auction her off and see if I can earn a good price. Zhuo Owen said calmly. At that moment, the Phoenix people were lying on the ground. Naturally, she had heard the conversation between Zhuo Owen and Gao Xin. When she heard that Zhuo Owen was going to auction her off, her beautiful eyes widened as she glared at Zhuo Owen. She wanted to speak, but she quickly realized that she couldn't make a sound. It was as if something was stuck in her throat, blocking her voice. She knew that Zhuo Owen must have secretly used a powerful force to block her voice. Gao Xin said hesitantly, "Brother Zhuo, you know that this is the Phoenix People's Saintess. If we auction her off, won't we offend the Phoenix people? I think you should return the Phoenix People's Saintess to the Phoenix people to avoid a greater disaster." Zhuo Owen narrowed his eyes and said coldly, "Supervisor Gao, can I assume that the Xiantian auction house is afraid of the Phoenix people? I remember that the Xiantian auction house has always been fair and just. You don't even give the top 10 races any face. Could it be that these rumors are false?" Gao Xin looked a little proud. "Brother Zhuo, don't think that the Xiantian auction house is just an auction house. It has a lot of power behind it. I'm just a subordinate of the auction house. The Xiantian auction house isn't afraid of the Phoenix people. I'm just worried about your safety. After all, you're alone. If the Phoenix people find out that you're the one who auctioned the Saintess, you'll be hunted down by the Phoenix people. It won't be good for you." Zhuo Owen smiled. "Supervisor Gao, you don't have to worry about that. I have my own way of dealing with this. You just need to auction the Saintess." Gao Xin saw that Zhuo Owen was Zhuo Xian was. Gao knew that it was useless to say anything. "In that case, the Saintess, let's leave the Saintess at the auction house for now. According to our deal, in 3 months let's leave the Star auction house, Saintess Hands' auction house. There is no need. Shi Zhuo Feng Qiu auction hand Lin Studio auction studio Zhuo Lu Studio Qiu and Lu Studio News Studio Lu Studio. At that time, I will naturally send the Holy Maiden to your auction house." Zhuo Wen said indifferently. "Brother Zhuo, do you not trust our auction house?" Gao Xin asked with a frown. "I trust your auction house very much. I just don't want to make things difficult for your auction house. After all, if we spread the news about the saint in advance, the Phoenix people will definitely come looking for us. That will be troublesome." Zhuo laughed. Gao Xin was speechless. What Zhuo said was not without reason. "Then it's settled. This Zhuo will take his leave first. When the auction is about to begin, this Zhuo will naturally pay a visit." Yuan cupped his hands at Gao Xin and left the room. Gao Xin originally wanted to stop Zhuo, but Yuan walked too quickly. When he walked out of the inner room, he saw that Zhuo had already left the auction house. "Supervisor, do you need me to send someone to follow this person?" A figure quietly appeared behind Gao Xin and asked in a low voice. Gao Xin hesitated for a moment and said in a solemn voice, "Better not follow. This person isn't simple. He's definitely not an ordinary Skirich lord. It's best if we don't offend him easily." The figure didn't say anything and slowly disappeared behind Gao Xin. After Zhuo left the Xiantian auction house, he immediately sensed several figures quietly following behind him. He had secretly used his divine sense to investigate and found that the few outsiders who were tailing him were all familiar faces from the queue at the appraisal window. Zhuo sneered. His entire body turned into a blur as he shook off the alien race behind him. The strength of these foreign races was very ordinary. If Zhuo wanted to kill them, it would be very easy. However, Zhuo didn't do so as he felt that it would be troublesome. After leaving the Xiantian auction house, Zhuo didn't go far. Instead, he found a cave in a mountain range hundreds of thousands of kilometers away from the auction house and set up a temporary cave residence there. He planned to use this time to let his main body consolidate his newly promoted cultivation base. After entering the great world, his main body immediately began to make breakthroughs and successfully advanced to the Lord of Creation level. Furthermore, during the process of ascension, he had advanced from the early stage to the late stage in one go. Zhuo knew very well that the main reason his main body could continue to make breakthroughs the moment he advanced to the Lord of Creation level was mainly because of the blue frost Ganoderma. After all, The blue frost Ganoderma was a Skirich divine herb. Its medicinal strength was extremely terrifying. If it wasn't for the fact that Zhuowen's main body was extremely special and didn't have a Dao root, his cultivation base might have advanced even faster and higher. Time passed slowly. There were still a few days before the 3 months were up. Zhuowen walked out of the cave residence and flew towards the Xiantian auction house. During this time, the Xiantian auction house was doing its best to promote the 2 great mystery creation elixirs. As soon as this news spread, the entire Eldritch Heaven domain was in an uproar. Almost all the foreign races knew what the great mystery creation elixirs were. It was a late-stage Skirich divine pill. It was said that this divine pill could help a mid-stage Skirich master obtain a creation opportunity and increase their chances of advancing. Generally speaking, those who could reach the Skirich master level were all extremely talented and monstrous geniuses. The temptation of the Taishen spirit creation pill was simply too great for these masters of heaven ascension. It even alarmed many old monsters who hadn't appeared in the world for a long time. They all gathered at the Xiantian auction house, waiting for it to open. When Zhuowen arrived at the Xiantian auction house, he saw that the outside of the Xiantian auction house was bustling with activity. It was so crowded that not even a drop of water could trickle through. Zhuowen was stunned. Obviously, he had underestimated the influence of the great mystery creation elixirs in the Eldritch Heaven domain. Zhuowen sent a message to Galvin. Gaotzen came out of the Xiantian auction house and led Zhuowen into the Xiantian auction house in front of everyone. Many of the foreign races gathered at the Xiantian auction house looked displeased. At the same time, they looked at Zhuowen with puzzlement. Zhuowen had already disguised himself. Even if it was someone from the Phoenix clan, it would be difficult for them to recognize him immediately. Therefore, he was not worried about being recognized. Inside the Xiantian auction house, Gaotzen enthusiastically led Zhuowen to a seat. Zhuowen saw that there was an old man with white hair and a beard sitting inside. When the old man saw him enter, he stood up and greeted him warmly. "You should be the Zhuo Xiaoyu that Gaotzen was talking about. This old man is the president of the Xiantian auction house, Xianhang. It's an honor to meet Zhuo Xiaoyu," the old man said with a smile. Zhuowen didn't dare to be negligent and also greeted Xianhang politely. He could sense that Xianhang was much stronger than Gaotzen. He was most likely a mid-stage transcending heaven lord. By the way, news of the great mystery creation elixir has already spread. Did the Phoenix people come? Zhuowen asked in a low voice. Chapter 3295. Auctioning the Saintess? Only a few fire deities? Zhuowen narrowed his eyes in annoyance. He had originally planned to lure the tiger away from the mountain and get the upper echelons of the Phoenix people to come out in full force. He did not expect that 2 Taishen spiritual creation pills would not be enough to lure the Phoenix master over. Zhuowen waved his sleeves and summoned the Phoenix people's Saintess back to the inner room. "This is the Phoenix people's Saintess. I hope you can auction her off as a slave. Also, do your best to advertise to the Phoenix people." Gaotzen stood beside Xianhang and did not speak. Xianhang, on the other hand, looked at Zhuowen with a smile and said, "You have indeed handed over the Saintess. However, it is obviously inappropriate for our auction house to sell the Phoenix people's Saintess as a slave. It will easily make enemies with the Phoenix people. The risk is too great." Zhuowen looked at Xianhang deeply. He knew that Xianhang was going to bargain with him. "Mr. Xianhang, if that is the case, then tell me clearly. What do you want in order to sell the Phoenix people's Saintess in the name of the Xiantian auction house?" Zhuowen asked calmly. Xianhang smiled and said, "It is very simple. Zhuo Xiaoyu, since you dare to auction 2 Taishen spiritual creation pills, I believe you should still have some left on you. I don't want much. As long as Zhuo Xiaoyu can give me 2 pills, I will agree to your request to auction the Saintess. I will also do my best to advertise for you." Zhuowen frowned as his eyes flickered. "President Xian, I only have those 2 Taishen spirit creation pills. You know how precious these pills are. Taking out 2 is already my limit. How can I take out more?" Xianhang smiled and said calmly, "Zhuo Xiaoyu, then I can't do anything about it. After all, auctioning the Phoenix people's Saintess is very risky. This is equivalent to falling out with the Phoenix people. I really can't bear this risk for you. Zhuowen's face turned ugly. He knew that Xianhang would not help him auction the Phoenix people's Saintis without enough benefits. Although he knew that the Xiantian auction house was backed by many forces and he was not afraid of the Phoenix people. But he also knew that Xianhang was doing this for him. I really don't have any Taishin spiritual creation pills, but I have a red moon starwave milk. If Xianhang you and me Zhuan said Xianhang. Although he still had the Taishin spiritual creation pill on him, this divine pill was simply too precious. If he exposed too much of it, it would definitely cause Xianhang to covet it. At that time, it would not be a good thing for him. When Xianhang heard that Zhuowen indeed did not have the great mystery creation spirit pill, his eyes revealed a trace of disappointment. However, when he heard that there was the Crimson Moon Star Wave milk, he immediately perked up. Although the Red Moon Star Wave milk was not as good as the Taishin spiritual creation pills, it was still a divine elixir. It would be good for his cultivation. President Xian, other than the bottle of Crimson Moon Star Wave essence, I also have a Supreme Harmony spiritual energy pill. As long as you help me, I can give you both of them. Zhuowen continued. Deal. Xianhang made up his mind and agreed to Zhuowen's request. A bottle of Red Moon Starwave milk and a Taishin spiritual creation pill were already very valuable. Xianhang had no reason to agree. I'll leave the Phoenix people's Saintis to the two of you. I hope that the Xiantian auction house will not disappoint me. I still have some matters to attend to. I'll be back when the auction starts. I'll leave it to the two of you. Zhuan cupped his hands and left the Xiantian auction house. Xianhang and Gao Zhen did not stop Zhuan. My lord, this person must have a lot of good things on him. Didn't you say before that we must keep him here? Gao Zhen suddenly asked. Xianhang shook his head and said, There's no hurry. This person is not simple. If we want to keep him here, I'm afraid we'll have to pay a high price. Moreover, the experts sent by our boss haven't arrived yet. It won't be worth it if we act now. Besides, as you can see, there are too many foreign races gathered around the auction house. The commotion here will easily attract their attention. If this person is exposed, it won't be good for us. Gao Zhen nodded. Xuanhang's words made sense. There were too many foreign races gathering around the Xiantian auction house. Moreover, the auction was about to start. If something were to happen now, the auction would be ruined. At that time, it would arouse public anger. This was not a good thing for them. My lord, are we really going to auction off the Phoenix people's Saintis? Gao Zhen asked as he pointed at the Saintis of the Phoenix people who was lying limp on the ground. Xianhang smiled slightly and said that Zhuan probably has some grudges with the Phoenix people. That's why he's using this method to humiliate the Phoenix people. Although Zhuan is suspected of using our Xiantian auction house, it doesn't mean we can't use him. The Phoenix people's Saintis is the symbol of the Phoenix people. I'm sure the Phoenix people will definitely pay a high price to auction off the Saintis of the Phoenix people. This is a huge profit. Why should we let it go? My lord is right. This is a brilliant move. Gao Zhen couldn't help but flatter. After Zhuan quietly left the Xiantian auction house, his expression wasn't very good. The moment he entered the auction house, he sensed that there was a powerful heaven-piercing array set up in the auction house. Moreover, this array was in a state where it could be activated at any time. In other words, Xianhang only needed to take out the array flag to activate the array. Zhuan wouldn't be able to escape at all. Zhuan had a feeling that this array was set up to deal with him. This was because the last time he entered the auction house, he didn't see any traces of this array. In other words, this array had been set up in the past 3 months or so. He didn't think that this array was set up to deal with the foreign races who came to the auction. It was definitely set up to deal with him. Xiantian auction house, you'd better not cross my bottom line. Otherwise, I'll make sure your Xiantian auction house can no longer do business. Zhuan muttered in a low voice. Over the next few days, more and more foreign races came to the Xiantian auction house. Most of them were here to participate in the upcoming auction. At this moment, a shocking piece of news came from the auction house. It was said that a very special female slave was going to be auctioned off in the upcoming auction. And this female slave was said to be the long-lost saintess of the Phoenix people. This news spread like wildfire throughout the entire eldritch celestial realm. Every race knew about it. Naturally, the Phoenix people also knew about this news. At this moment, in the main hall of the Phoenix people, the Phoenix Master, who was sitting on the main seat, suddenly smashed the tea table on her right into pieces. This Shentian auction house is really bold. They actually said that they want to auction off the Phoenix people's saintess. Don't they know that the saintess has been captured by the human race? Feng Bumming stood at the side and snorted. The two Xuanhua guardians nodded their heads repeatedly. They agreed with Feng Bumming's words. They also didn't believe that the Phoenix people's saintess would fall into the hands of the Shentian auction house. The Phoenix Master, Feng Luo, had a cold gaze. With a wave of her sleeve, an image appeared in midair. What appeared in the image was the figure of a beautiful woman. When Feng Bumming and the two guardians of Xuanhua saw this beautiful woman, they immediately fell silent. Their eyes widened, revealing a look of disbelief. Chapter 3296. Everything was ready. It's really the saintess? Wasn't she captured by a human called Joan in the astral battlefield? Feng Bumming's pupils shrank as he found it unbelievable. The Xuanhua guardians' eyes were also wide open. Their thoughts were similar to Feng Bumming's. The Shentian auction house is really bold. How dare they auction off the Phoenix people's saintess as a slave? This is a slap to the Phoenix people's face. Hey Xian, inform the fire deities near the Shentian auction house to contact them. Ask the Shentian auction house to release the Phoenix people's saintess. Otherwise, don't blame the Phoenix people for being rude. The Phoenix Master suppressed her anger and said coldly. Hey Xian Guardian nodded and took out his communication jade talisman. He began to contact the fire deities near the Shentian auction house. Soon, He Xian Guardian received a response. He said with an ugly expression, Phoenix Master, the Shentian auction house refuses to meet the Phoenix people's fire deities. I heard that if there's anything, wait until the auction starts. Feng Lilua's face was terrifyingly gloomy. She was so angry that she laughed. Good. The Shentian auction house is planning to fall out with the Phoenix people. Phoenix Master, what should we do now? Are we going to fall out with the Shentian auction house? Feng Bumming asked worriedly. That won't do. The Shentian auction house has many forces supporting it, including the powerful sorcerer tribe. If we fall out with the Shentian auction house, it'll be easy for us to fall out with the forces behind it. Xuanhua Guardian quickly said. Xuanhua Guardian is right. If we fall out with the Shentian auction house because of this, the losses will outweigh the gains. Since the Shentian auction house wants to auction off the Phoenix people's saintess, there must be someone who put it up for auction. As long as we find that person, we'll be able to find out who the culprit is. He Xian Guardian cupped his fist. Feng Lilua snorted and said, the Shentian auction house is indeed getting more and more arrogant. However, you're right. There's no need to fall out with the Shentian auction house. As long as we find the culprit behind this, the truth will naturally come to light. Originally, I planned to wait for Zhuan to come out of the Undying Bird Purgatory before going to the Mysterious Sky auction house to participate in the auction. However, there has been no movement from the Undying Bird Purgatory. It seems that Zhuan won't come out for a while. Let's go to the Mysterious Sky auction house first. Whether it's the Holy Maiden or the two Taishian spiritual creation pills, they're all ours. As she spoke, Feng Lilua stood up and said to the two guardians of Xuanhua, Guardians, I'll take Bu Ming to the Dark Sky auction house first. Both of you will guard the clan. Also, don't worry. This time, I will definitely bid for the Taishian spiritual creation pills and give them to you. Originally, the two Xuanhua protectors were disappointed that Feng Lilua would not bring them to the auction house. They were both mid-stage sky-reaching masters, and the great profound creation panaceas were extremely beneficial to their advancement. However, when they heard Feng Lilua's words, they were shocked and quickly nodded. After instructing the two guardians of Xuanhua a few more times, Feng Liluo took Feng Buming and hurriedly left the Phoenix people. When Feng Liluo took Feng Buming away from the Phoenix people, they did not notice that there was a rock covered in moss on a mountain not far from the main city of the Phoenix people. If one observed carefully, the moss on the surface of the rock was very unnatural. It emitted a green light and did not look like natural moss. Naturally, it was not moss, but a monitoring formation that Zhuan had secretly set up. The moment Feng Liluo left the Phoenix people, Yun already knew. Thus, he set off from the mountain near the mysterious sky auction house and rushed toward the valley where the teleportation formation was located. When Zhuan finally arrived at the valley where the teleportation formation was located, it was already 3 days later. He stood at the edge of the teleportation formation and pressed his right hand on the formation. Instantly, the formation emitted a faint white light. Then the white light became more and more intense, like a small sun emitting intense light. After a while, Zhuan disappeared into the light of the teleportation formation. This teleportation formation was modified by Zhuan to be two-way. Back then, he had been teleported here through the teleportation formation in the Black Heart Sea of Flames in the Phoenix Purgatory. Now, he could naturally enter the Phoenix Purgatory through the teleportation formation here. The moment Zhuan opened his eyes, he saw a sea of fire. He waved his sleeve, and the surrounding sea of fire dispersed. He knew that he was now in the Black Heart Sea of Flames in the Phoenix Purgatory. He jumped up the high slope, chose a direction, and disappeared on the spot like an arrow leaving the bow. Soon, he arrived at the valley outside the Phoenix Purgatory. When he entered the gorge, he immediately saw a black mass of foreign races gathering in the gorge and walking out of the gorge. Zhuan was familiar with the few people in the lead. They were Crepe Myrtle Star Sovereign, Suoingda, and the others. Of course, the outsiders in the valley also noticed Zhuowen's arrival. They were surprised at first, but then cheered loudly. Zhuan landed in front of Crepe Myrtle Star Sovereign in the valley. Master Zhuo. Suoingda hurriedly bowed. It was not only Suoingda. All of the foreign races behind him revealed respectful expressions as they bowed respectfully to Zhuowen. Master Zhuo, if it weren't for your divine pill, I wouldn't have been able to break through so quickly. You can be said to be my second parent. The snake-faced man was so excited that he kowtowed in front of Zhun. He almost knelt down and licked Zhuowen's boots in public. Yun kicked the snake-faced man away. Then, he looked at Crepe Myrtle Star Sovereign and said, "Have all the foreign races in the valley come out of seclusion? Brother Zhuo, they're all here. More than 90% of them have broken through in their cultivation. They're very grateful to you." Crepe Myrtle Star Sovereign said with a smile. Zhuo nodded. He had never doubted the divine pills he refined. He was not surprised that these foreign races could break through. Among this group of foreign races, besides Suoingda who had broken through to the peak of the middle stage of the Ascension realm, there were 2 other foreign races who were originally at the peak of the early stage of the Ascension realm. This surprised Zhuowen. In addition, there were also 2 foreign races who had just become Ascension realm masters. In other words, including Crepe Myrtle Star Sovereign, the original 6, and the 2 new ones, there were a total of 9 Ascension realm masters. Moreover, Crepe Myrtle Star Sovereign was a late-stage Ascension realm master. With such strength, even Zhuowen would admit defeat unless he used all his trump cards. He knew how terrifying the force he was leading was. Even if the Phoenix Master did not leave the Phoenix people, it was enough to stir up a huge storm among the Phoenix people. Chapter 3297. Great Array Self-Destruct. Since everyone has come out of seclusion, then follow me out of the Phoenix Purgatory. However, before we leave the Phoenix Purgatory, I have something to ask you. Do you still remember what you promised me? Zhuan looked at the black mass of foreign races in front of him and said with a strong voice, "We swear that together with Master Zhuo, we will turn the Phoenix people upside down." The foreign race roared in unison. "Master Zhuo, we have already thought about it. The Phoenix people have imprisoned us in the Phoenix Purgatory for so long, not caring about our lives. We've been wanting to turn the Phoenix clan upside down for a long time. Now that you have organized us, we can't wait. Suoingda laughed. Zhuan nodded and said, I am very gratified to be able to obtain everyone's recognition. Also, if you are willing to follow me, Zhuan, to cause trouble for the Phoenix people, I will not treat you unfairly. This time, the Phoenix people, as long as you snatch something, I will definitely not interfere. Everything you obtain will belong to you. Moreover, I will not take the Phoenix people's treasure trove for myself. Instead, I will open it for everyone to share. Whoever can snatch it, it will belong to them. However, we must not fight among ourselves because of this. If I find out that anyone has attacked their companions in the process of snatching something, I, Zhuan, will be the first to come out and destroy them. As Zhuan finished speaking, his tone was stern and cold. When the foreign race heard this, they all nodded their heads. They were wholeheartedly convinced by Zhuan's policy. Seeing that no one had any objections, Zhuan and the Purple Star Sovereign led the crowd towards the Black Heart Flame Sea. When they arrived at the shore of the Black Heart Flame Sea, the Purple Star Sovereign took a deep breath. Then he sucked in all the black flames in the Black Heart Flame Sea. Suoingda and the other foreign races were dumbfounded. The Black Heart Fire Sea was a famous dangerous place in the Undying Bird Purgatory. Although they were not afraid of the black flames of the Black Heart Fire Sea, it was impossible for them to subdue all of it. However, Crepe Myrtle's star had done it. Everyone looked at Crepe Myrtle's star with fear and respect. Zhuan wasn't surprised. After all, Crepe Myrtle's Star Lord had obtained the inheritance of Phoenix Purgatory. All the black flames here were child's play to him. Of course, it was a secret between them that Crepe Myrtle's star had obtained the inheritance of the Undying Bird. They did not intend to make this matter public. Otherwise, it would attract unnecessary trouble. With the disappearance of the black flames, there was one less obstacle for Suoingda and the others. Zhuan led the outsiders to where the teleportation formation was. The teleportation array can only teleport 300 people at a time, and there are nearly 10,000 of us in total. Therefore, we need to teleport more than 30 times and divide into more than 30 batches. As Zhuan spoke, he counted the 300 or so people and had them enter the teleportation array before activating it and sending them out. Next, the outsiders entered the teleportation array in batches and were teleported out. Finally, it was the last batch. This last batch could be said to be the experts who stood at the top of the Phoenix Purgatory. Suoingda, the snake-faced man, and the other experts were in this batch. Zhuan arranged for them to be teleported out last. Zhuan and Crepe Myrtle Star Lord also entered the teleportation array. After activating the array, the last batch of outsiders disappeared in the light of the teleportation array. In a valley hundreds of thousands of kilometers away from the Phoenix people, a white light flashed. Zhuan and Crepe Myrtle Star Lord led the last batch of outsiders and appeared in the valley. After Zhuan and the others walked out of the teleportation array, Zhuan directly destroyed it. Brother Zhua, are we going to charge into the Phoenix people now? Crepe Myrtle Star Lord asked Zhuan when he saw the main city of the Phoenix people hundreds of thousands of kilometers away. You guys watch a good show first. When the good show starts, listen to my orders and attack the main city of the Phoenix people. Zhuan smiled mysteriously and took out an array flag. He formed a seal with both hands. The array flag surface was filled with array Dao light. Then, it turned into a ray of light and disappeared on the spot. It rushed toward the main city of the Phoenix people in the distance. Crepe Myrtle Star Lord, Suoingda, and the others were puzzled. However, since Zhuan didn't say anything, they were too embarrassed to ask. They could only wait for the situation to develop. At this moment, in the main city of the Phoenix people, the tower-like building of the Phoenix Purgatory stood tall in the center of the main city. It burned with deep and solid black flames. Ever since Zhuan entered the Phoenix Purgatory, the Phoenix people strengthened the defense around the Phoenix Purgatory. The Phoenix people patrolling around the Phoenix Purgatory were clearly many times stronger than before. Moreover, the two guardians of Xuanhua and two experts would occasionally wander around the Phoenix Purgatory to observe. At this moment, the two guardians of Xuanhua and Xian were observing the Phoenix Purgatory as usual. The other Phoenix people who passed by all bowed respectfully to the two of them. It's been so long, but Yuan hasn't done anything. This doesn't make sense. He Xian said with a frown. Perhaps Shuowen is completely trapped in the undying bird purgatory. If that's the case, I'm afraid we'll have to pay a huge price to break the 3 heaven ascension arrays around the Phoenix purgatory. Shuehua said. Since Yuan is a heaven ascension divine array master, I think he should have prepared a backup plan before entering the Phoenix purgatory. Otherwise, he wouldn't have entered so recklessly. He Xian said. He Xian, are you saying that Yuan left a teleportation array in the main city? Shuehua asked as he realized something. Yes, I think the Phoenix Master has the same idea. During this period, the Phoenix Master has searched the entire main city but didn't find any traces of a teleportation array. I'm afraid that Yuan has set up a teleportation array in one of the 3 heaven ascension arrays. Therefore, the Phoenix Master is certain that Yuan will be able to leave the Phoenix purgatory smoothly. He Xian said in a deep voice. Shuehua came to a realization and his eyes were filled with vigilance. If what He Xian said was true, the Phoenix purgatory really couldn't trap Yuan. After all, this guy was a heaven ascension divine array master. He could set up any kind of array. Suddenly, a streamer came from afar and entered the heaven ascension array on the surface of the Phoenix purgatory. The 2 guardians of Xuanhua naturally noticed it, but the streamer was too fast. By the time they reacted, the streamer had already entered the Phoenix purgatory. Then, a terrifying aura came from the heaven ascension array around the Phoenix purgatory. Boom, boom, boom. In an instant, the 3 heaven ascension arrays around the Phoenix purgatory trembled violently and exploded one after another. The terrifying energy spread out in all directions, blotting out the sky and covering the earth. Before the 2 guardians of Xuanhua could react, they were covered by the terrifying energy of the explosion. However, the 2 guardians of Xuanhua reacted quickly enough. The moment the terrifying energy approached, they immediately retreated. At the same time, they frantically stimulated the energy in their bodies to cover their bodies and protect themselves. Chapter 3298. Death by Blood and Fire. The explosion of the 3 great heaven-level arrays produced a terrifying amount of energy. Waves of fire poured out in all directions. They were like tentacles formed by flames, destroying everything around them. The Phoenix people's main city was huge, but the energy of the explosion was not small either. 1/3 of the main city was destroyed. Screams of agony could be heard from the Phoenix people's main city. These were the powerhouses of the Phoenix people who were engulfed by the terrifying waves of fire and could not escape. Swoosh, 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 swoosh. The Phoenix people who were in seclusion rushed out from the other parts of the main city that were not affected by the waves of fire. They looked at the terrifying waves of fire that were spreading out from the center of the main city. Get out of the way. Don't get too close. There's a huge explosion at the Phoenix purgatory. The Phoenix people realized something and retreated to avoid the terrifying waves of fire that were spreading toward them. At the same time, when the Phoenix people retreated, they saw 2 extremely wretched figures rushing out from the waves of fire. The 2 figures were completely charred, and their auras were weak. However, upon closer inspection, they could recognize that they were the 2 guardians of the Xuanhua sect. 2 guardians? Is it you? One of the Phoenix people asked uncertainly. It's us. What are you waiting for? Hurry up and inform the 4 fire deities who are guarding the main city to activate the Great City Protection Array. Also, inform the Phoenix Master that the Phoenix people are under attack. The Black Guardian roared in a hoarse voice. The Phoenix people was shocked and quickly agreed. He took out his communication jade talisman, intending to inform the 4 fire deities. However, before he could send out the message, the 4 fire deities had already rushed to the edge of the main city. They formed a seal with their hands, and the entire border of the main city surged with powerful waves of array formation. A huge semicircular array appeared around the main city and enveloped the entire main city. However, the moment the Great City Protection Array appeared, dense waves of ripples appeared. Then, under the shocked gazes of the Phoenix people, The great city protection array that had just been activated collapsed in an instant. They also noticed a figure floating in the air outside the main city. This was a young man with cold eyes. He was dressed in black, and his clothes fluttered in the wind. Itsun. When did this guy leave the Phoenix Purgatory? The moment the two Xuanhua protectors saw the black-clothed young man, they immediately recognized the latter's identity and could not help but exclaim. They had always thought that Zhuan was still in the Undying Bird Purgatory, but they did not expect that the latter had already left the Undying Bird Purgatory. The two mystical flame protectors also knew that Zhuan must have been behind the self-destruction of the three great arrays around the Phoenix Purgatory. The two guardians of the Xuanhua sect took out a healing elixir and swallowed it. After stabilizing the horrifying injuries on their bodies, they looked at Zhuan in the sky and gnashed their teeth in hatred. Zhuan, you dared to destroy the Phoenix Purgatory. You are setting yourself on fire. Now we will give you a chance to live. Make a solemn vow that you will be loyal to the Phoenix people for the rest of your life. The Phoenix people will not only spare your life, but also let you live a comfortable life as a dog. Now you have no choice. You can either become a dog of the Phoenix people or die. The Xuanhua protector's eyes were cold as he looked at Zhuan. His eyes were filled with arrogance and contempt. In the eyes of the two guardians of the Xuanhua sect, Zhuan would definitely yield. This was because, no matter how strong he was, he could not possibly go against the entire Phoenix people. At this moment, the four fire deities had also landed beside the two guardians of the Xuanhua sect. They looked at Zhuan with hostility. It's not impossible for me to join the Phoenix people. The condition is that you give me the treasury of the Phoenix people first. Then I will consider joining you. Zhuan said calmly. How dare you? Today you have no choice. You can only become a dog of the Phoenix people. Whether you are willing or not, you don't have the right to choose. The choice lies in our pity. The Xuanhua protector snorted coldly. With a stomp of his right foot, the aura of the peak of the middle stage Heaven Ascension Master gushed out. However, Zhuan could keenly see that the Xuanhua protector's aura was much weaker than it had been before. He knew that this was probably because the Xuanhua protector had been horribly affected by the self-destruction of the three Heaven Ascension arrays. His body had suffered some serious injuries, and his strength had dropped by at least 30%. Zhuan, you still have the right to be a dog of the Phoenix people. Therefore, I will not kill you. I will only cripple you and make you refine arrays for the Phoenix people for all eternity. This will be your tragic fate for countless years to come. The Xuanhua protector was extremely fast. In an instant he was in front of Zhuan. His sinister voice rang out slowly. His voice was filled with confidence that victory was within his grasp. In the Xuanhua protector's opinion, although this Zhuan had some strength, the gap between them was not small. Even if this kid used all his strength, he would not be a match for him at all. In the main city, the Black Mystic Protector, the four fire deities, and the Phoenix people all had mocking looks on their faces. They were also full of confidence in the Xuanhua protector. They felt that the Xuanhua protector could easily get rid of Zhuan. Zhuan threw out a punch and collided with the Xuanhua protector's fist. Immediately after, he groaned and flew backward, spitting out a mouthful of blood. You are indeed a piece of trash. The Xuanhua protector sneered. When he saw that Zhuan had been repelled with a single blow, the contempt in his eyes became even more intense. He wanted to follow up with another attack, wanting to give Zhuan a thunderous blow and completely cripple Zhuan. However, the moment he caught up to Zhuan, he felt an inexplicable sense of unease. Brother Crepe Myrtle, make your move. Zhuan looked at the Xuanhua protector, who was getting closer and closer, with a hint of mockery in his eyes. He only said one sentence before a figure suddenly swept out from his body. This person was Crepe Myrtle Star, and Crepe Myrtle Star had swept out from Zhuan's great world. Not only Crepe Myrtle Star, but all the foreign races that came out of the Undying Bird Purgatory had been temporarily moved into Zhuan's great world to catch the Phoenix people off guard. As soon as Crepe Myrtle Star appeared, he launched a fatal attack on the Xuanhua protector. He threw out a punch and endless black flames surged out. In an instant, they spread in midair, forming a terrifying black sea of fire. In this black sea of fire, an extremely huge undying bird broke out of the sea of fire and instantly swallowed the Xuanhua protector. The Xuanhua protector screamed. In the black flames of the undying bird, he could only passively resist. But soon, his resistance gradually weakened. In the end, he completely turned into ashes in the black flames of the undying bird and disappeared. Without a doubt, the Xuanhua protector's body and soul were completely destroyed in the black flames of the undying bird. Zhuan wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and jumped onto the black flames of the undying bird energetically. He stood side by side with Crepe Myrtle's star like a proud and aloof king. He had naturally pretended to be repelled by the Xuanhua protector's attack just now. It was to make the Xuanhua protector careless and give Crepe Myrtle's star a better opportunity to attack. Not only did Crepe Myrtle's star's strength not disappoint him, but it also surprised him. He had actually destroyed the Xuanhua protector so easily. From this, it could be seen that the late-stage Master of Heaven was much stronger than the mid-stage Master of Heaven. Chapter 3299. Defeated Crepe Myrtle's star? The He-Xian Guardian was the first to react. His eyes widened as he stared at Crepe Myrtle's star, who was standing beside Zhuan. He was very familiar with Crepe Myrtle's star. He had been there when Crepe Myrtle's star had been captured and thrown into the Phoenix Purgatory. He had seen Crepe Myrtle's star being imprisoned there. But now, Crepe Myrtle's star had also come out. His aura was so strong that it made the He-Xian Guardian tremble in fear. "You've reached the late stage of the Ascending Realm? How can you be so fast?" The He-Xian Guardian shouted in shock. Crepe Myrtle's star monarch looked down at the shocked protector He-Xian and said indifferently, "He-Xian, your Phoenix clan has reached its end today. I think you'd better surrender. Maybe Brother Zhuo won't kill the Phoenix people." He-Xian laughed and said, "Crepe Myrtle's star, do you really think you're invincible just because you've reached the late stage of the Ascending Realm? Let me tell you, you're just an ant in front of our Phoenix Master. It's easy for him to kill you." Crepe Myrtle's star sneered and said, "It's true that your Phoenix people's Phoenix Master is stronger than me. After all, he's reached the late stage of the Ascending Realm a long time ago. I'm no match for him in terms of strength. But is your Phoenix Master among the Phoenix people now?" The He-Xian Guardian's expression changed slightly. He thought of something and said, "You're attacking the Phoenix people because you knew that our Phoenix Master would leave? What else?" Myrtle Star Sovereign's mouth was filled with mockery as he glanced at Zhuo beside him. "Brother Crepe Myrtle, do it. I hope that the Phoenix people will cease to exist from now on," Zhuo said calmly. Crepe Myrtle's star nodded and stomped his right foot. The huge Phoenix Purgatory under his feet swooped down and swept toward He-Xian. Zhuo leaped out of the undying bird's black flames and hovered above the main city like a king overlooking the entire land. "The four of you, work together to eliminate that Zhuo." When Crepe Myrtle's star swooped down and attacked the Black Mystic Protector, the Black Mystic Protector ordered the four fire gods beside him to attack Zhuo. The four fire deities naturally did not dare to disobey the Black Mystic Protector's order. They turned into four streamers and flew toward Zhuo. "Everyone, let's attack together. Today, we'll all be heavily rewarded if we eliminate this traitor Zhuo." The moment the four fire gods attacked, they did not forget to encourage the Phoenix people in the main city. The Phoenix people responded. They had long been unhappy with Zhuo. In addition, during this period of time, Zhuo had done all kinds of things against the Phoenix people in Phoenix Blood City. This made the Phoenix people extremely disgusted with Zhuo. They could not wait to tear Zhuo into pieces. The four fire deities led the Phoenix people and surrounded Zhuo in an instant. They surrounded Zhuo from all directions. Bang! At this moment, Crepe Myrtle's star and the Black Mystic Protector clashed. The Black Mystic Protector groaned and immediately retreated. Crepe Myrtle's star frowned. The Black Mystic Protector's strength was above the Xuanhua Protector's, but the Black Mystic Protector had blocked his attack. However, Crepe Myrtle's star was not discouraged. He stomped his right foot and continued to launch a terrifying attack at the Black Mystic Protector. In an instant, the Black Mystic Protector was completely suppressed by Crepe Myrtle's star's attacks. The injuries on his body became more and more terrifying. However, the Black Mystic Protector was very slippery. He did not fight Crepe Myrtle's star head-on. Instead, he used his powerful movement skills to constantly dodge Crepe Myrtle's star's attacks. Even so, the Black Mystic Protector's injuries continued to worsen. If this continued, he would not be able to hold on for long. Crepe Myrtle's star. Don't you care about Juon? If you don't help that Juon, he will be finished. The Black Mystic Protector spat out a mouthful of blood. He endured the serious injuries on his body and used his movement skills. Like a slippery loach, he constantly flashed in the air. Crepe Myrtle Star's eyes flashed with a trace of anger. The Black Mystic Protector was too slippery. He did not dare to fight him head-on. If the Black Mystic Protector had fought him head-on, he would have killed the Black Mystic Protector long ago. Brother Zhuo's strength is not something you can imagine. Moreover, there is no need for him to personally take care of such a motley crew. Crepe Myrtle's star sneered again and again. He also used his movement skills and chased after the Black Mystic Protector. Terrifying black flames covered the sky and covered the earth as they surged towards the Black Mystic Protector. The Black Mystic Protector resisted the attacks of the black flames with difficulty. He could not help but look at Juon from the corner of his eyes. Then, he found that the countless Phoenix people who had surrounded Juon so tightly that not even a drop of water could trickle through. At this moment, they were like buckwheat being harvested, constantly falling from the sky. Through the gap, he finally saw clearly that Juon was not the only one who was surrounded. Instead, there were close to 10,000 outsiders. Juon, on the other hand, was protected in the center by nearly 10,000 outsiders and was completely unharmed. When the Black Mystic Protector saw the nearly 10,000 outsiders clearly, he almost spat out a mouthful of blood. This was because he saw many familiar faces among these outsiders. These familiar faces were all the prisoners he had personally captured and thrown into the Phoenix Purgatory. He quickly realized that these tens of thousands of outsiders were all prisoners of the Undying Bird Purgatory, and now they were all released. Moreover, he found that among these outsiders, there were 3 mid-stage Heaven Ascension Masters and 5 early-stage Heaven Ascension Masters. In addition, there was a late-stage Heaven Ascension Master like Crepe Myrtle Star. Such a force was simply too terrifying. If the Phoenix Lord did not appear, the Phoenix people would not be a match for such a force at all. It's over. The Black Mystic Protector's face was pale. He knew that the Phoenix people were finished this time. In the face of such a powerful force, the Phoenix people were useless no matter how strong they were. And their Phoenix Lord had gone to the mysterious Sky Auction House. The Phoenix people's main city was about to fall. Crepe Myrtle Star seized the moment when the Black Mystic Protector was in a daze and slammed his palm into the Black Mystic Protector's chest. The Black Mystic Protector spat out a mouthful of blood and fell to the ground. His body twitched and his aura weakened. The Black Mystic Protector struggled to get up, but Crepe Myrtle Star landed on the ground and stomped on the Black Mystic Protector's chest ruthlessly. The moment the Black Mystic Protector was stomped, the battle in the sky came to an end. The 4 fire gods were the fastest to die. Sua Ingda alone dealt with the 4 fire gods, while the other 7 sky-piercing masters massacred the surrounding Phoenix clansmen. Under the leadership of these Empyrean masters, the Phoenix clan's troops were utterly routed. They were simply unable to pose a threat. The Black Mystic Protector's eyes were ashen as he watched all this. He looked at Juon in the sky with resentment and roared, "We Phoenix people have no enmity with you. Why are you always targeting us Phoenix people?" The Black Mystic Protector was unwilling. He roared with resentment and questioned Juon fiercely. Juon slowly landed in front of the Black Mystic Protector while surrounded by the crowd. "I'm targeting you Phoenix people not because of myself, but because of my wife, Mu Chenxue. You've tortured her for so many years, so it's time for me to get some interest back. You remember well, my Zhuowen's people aren't so easy to touch." Zhuowen said coolly. "Mu Chenxue? Could you be?" The Black Mystic Protector's pupils shrank as he thought of a possibility. Just as he was about to say it, he realized that he couldn't make a sound. Then, he felt a splitting pain between his eyebrows and his eyelids slowly closed. Chapter 3300. Redeeming the Virgin. When Feng Lilua arrived at the Xiantian auction house with Feng bumming, it caused an uproar among the foreign races gathered around the Xiantian auction house. Experts at Feng Lilua's level basically stood at the peak of the untainted heavenly domain. They would not appear easily. Feng Lilua and Feng bumming didn't look too good. As soon as they entered the mysterious sky auction house, they immediately heard the discussion about the Phoenix People's Saintess. The tightly shut doors of the mysterious sky auction house slowly opened and the auction house president, Xian Hang, slowly walked out with a smile on his face. Lord Phoenix Master, I didn't think that you would personally come to the profound sky auction house. This is truly rare. However, the auction still has a few days. I wonder what Lord Phoenix Lord is planning on doing by making me come out in such a hurry? Xian Hang said with a grin. Feng Lua snorted coldly and said, President Xian, don't keep me in suspense. I'm here today to demand an explanation from you. Recently, there's a rumor going around that your auction house is about to auction off a female slave, and this female slave is the saintess of the Phoenix people. What the hell is going on? Xian Hang chuckled and said, Lord Phoenix Master, you're also aware of our auction house's rules. We never ask about the items that are put up for auction. Furthermore, some of the gimmicks in the auction are created based on the people who put them up for auction. The matter of the Phoenix People's Saintess has nothing to do with our mysterious sky auction house. You can't accuse a good person unjustly. Feng Lilua knew that Xian Hang was trying to shirk responsibility, but she did not care. What she wanted to know now was who was so daring to auction the Saintess of the Phoenix people. Regardless of whether the Saintess of the Phoenix people was real or not, once the news got out, the reputation of the Phoenix people would be damaged greatly. Since it has nothing to do with your mysterious heavenly auction house, I won't pursue the matter. Now, take me to see the female slave and tell me the identity of the person who put it up for auction. Otherwise, don't blame us Phoenix people for being impolite. Feng Lilua said coldly. Xian Hang sneered and said, Phoenix Lord, are you threatening our profound sky auction house? Although our Xiantian auction house is only a small business and can't compare to you Phoenix people, if you Phoenix people want to bully us, the Xiantian auction house will not be afraid. The way Xian Hang addressed Feng Lilua directly changed from Lord Phoenix Master to Lord Phoenix Master. It must be said that the speed at which this guy changed his attitude was faster than flipping a book. Feng Lilua frowned. He naturally did not dare to do anything to the mysterious sky auction house. Not to mention the profound sky auction house's background, just the forces behind the foreign races gathered here were enough to make him suffer. Naturally, he wouldn't take the risk of being condemned by everyone and really ruin this auction. President Xian Hang, how about this? Just treat it as giving me face. The Phoenix people will bid for that female slave. Just name your price. Feng Lilua didn't want to talk too much nonsense with Xian Hang and went straight to the point. Right now, he only wanted to bid for the Phoenix People's Saintess before the auction started. After all, once the auction started, the Phoenix People's Saintess would be auctioned as a female slave in front of everyone. That would simply be a disgrace to the Phoenix people. In order to prevent such a shameful thing from happening, Feng Lilua naturally wanted to go through the back door and bid for the Phoenix People's Saintess before the auction started. Xian Hang also expected this, which was why he came out to meet Feng Lilua after she called him out. He knew very well that if the Phoenix People's Saintess were to be auctioned, the other forces would definitely not offend the Phoenix people by bidding for her. At that time, they wouldn't be able to bid for a high price. Now that Feng Lilua wanted to bid for her in advance, the nature of the situation was different. He could totally raise the price. Lord Phoenix Master is really straightforward. I love doing business with people like you the most. That female slave's identity is not ordinary, so naturally, the price won't be low. How about this? We originally planned to set the price at 100 million high-grade heavenly law origin crystals. However, for the sake of Lord Phoenix Master, I'll give you a 20% discount. Then it'll be 80 million. How about it? This is a very good deal. Xian Hang said. Feng Lilua resisted the urge to slap Xian Hang. This old guy was asking for a sky-high price. In the past, when the female slaves were auctioned, It was already a sky-high price of 1 million heavenly law origin crystals. However, this old guy Xianhang directly bid 100 million. Even with a discount, it would still be 80 million. This was blatant extortion. 50 million? Feng Lilua frowned. She knew that she was the one who took the initiative to bid for the Phoenix People's Saintess. She was in a passive position and couldn't get a good price from Xianhang. 60 million, I can't go any lower. If Lord Phoenix Master can't accept it, then forget it. You can bid again after the auction starts. Xianhang chuckled and put his hands behind his back, planning to return to the Xiantian auction house. All right, 60 million then. Now, bring me to the Xiantian auction house and let me see that female slave. Feng Lilua said with a gloomy expression. Feng Bumming, who was standing beside Feng Lilua, and the three fire deities who had already arrived at the Xiantian auction house all revealed sullen expressions. They, the Phoenix people, were one of the 10 great races of the primitive heavenly domain. Now, they were being extorted by Xianhang in such a blatant manner, and they could only swallow their anger. Lord Phoenix Master is really straightforward. You all follow me in. Xuanhong's heart was filled with joy as he led the Phoenix Master and the others into the Xiantian auction house. After passing through a few pitch-black corridors, Xianhang stopped in a room. Only then did Feng Lilua and the others see clearly that the room was decorated rather magnificently. There was everything inside. In addition, a beautiful woman wearing a fiery red dress sat on the bed in a daze. Junior Sister Minya, are you all right? Feng Bumming hurried forward and walked to the front of the Phoenix People's Saintess, his eyes full of concern. The Phoenix People's Saintess came back to her senses. The moment she saw Feng Bumming, she immediately grabbed Feng Bumming's shoulder excitedly and said, Senior Brother Bumming, is it really you? I'm not dreaming, am I? Feng Bumming comforted her, Junior Sister Minya, you're not dreaming. We're here to save you. Feng Lilua took a step forward and grabbed the right arm of the Phoenix People's Saintess. Her relaxed expression immediately turned gloomy. She suddenly grabbed the Phoenix People's Saintess and threw her to the ground. The Phoenix People's Saintess did not expect such an unforeseen event. She was dizzy from the fall, spitting out blood and twitching all over. Phoenix Master, what are you doing? Feng Bumming was stunned. Feng Lilua ignored Feng Bumming and walked to the front of the Phoenix People's Saintess. She looked down at her and said, Feng Minya, as the Saintess of the Phoenix People, you have the 99 Phoenix body. You are the future hope of the Phoenix People. However, where did your 99 Phoenix body bloodline go? Moreover, most of your cultivation has been crippled. You are now a cripple. A cripple like you actually made me spend 60 million heavenly law origin crystals to auction you off. What a waste. When the Phoenix People's Saintess Feng Minya found out that the person in front of her was actually the Phoenix Master, who had not appeared for a long time, her delicate body trembled. She quickly struggled to get up and knelt in front of Feng Lilua. She quickly explained, Phoenix Master, please forgive me. All of this was done by Zhuan. He was the one who took away the 99 Phoenix body bloodline from my body. Chapter 3301. Ruins Zhuan? That damn Zhuan again? Feng Lilua's eyes were filled with flames of anger. This man called Zhuan had intruded the Phoenix people and destroyed their ancestral shrine. He had also killed many of the Phoenix people. And now, this man had extracted the 99 Phoenix body bloodline of the Phoenix People's Saintess and sold her as a slave to humiliate the Phoenix people. If Feng Lilua caught Zhuan, he wouldn't show him any mercy. Initially, he had planned to make Zhuan serve the Phoenix people and refine the formations for the Phoenix people. Perhaps he would treat Zhuan well. But now, he didn't have that thought anymore. He planned to force Zhuan to become his slave and make him a machine to refine formations for the Phoenix people forever. Feng Bumming frowned as he was a little suspicious. He hurried to ask, Sister Minya, the human who had captured you is called Zhuan, right? If he's a human, he couldn't have entered the primitive desolate heavenly realm. So, how did he bring you to the mysterious heaven auction house? Hearing Feng Bumming, Feng Lilua and the others came back to their senses. Feng Bumming was right. Feng Minya should be with the human clan. How could she come to the mysterious heaven auction house in the primitive desolate heavenly realm? Zhuan used the secret passage to enter the primitive desolate heavenly realm. Also, he has a clone of an alien race. His original human body is usually kept by him. That's why he can do whatever he wants in the untainted heavenly realm without being discovered by the other alien races. Feng Minya explained. What? In other words, the man from the devouring clan called Zhuan who had intruded the Phoenix people is Zhuan of the human clan. Damn it. This guy is humiliating us. He didn't even change his name. Feng Bumming was so angry that his teeth itched. Feng Lilua clenched her fists tightly. She had a feeling that she had been fooled by Zhuan. This feeling annoyed her, and she was enraged. Master Feng, you've seen this female slave. Isn't it time to pay the auction fee? Xian Hang urged her. Feng Lila coldly looked at Xian Hang. She took out a spiritual ring and threw it to him. Then Feng Lilua directly turned around and left the mysterious heaven auction house. This time, he had spent 6,000 heavenly law origin crystals. It was a great loss. If Feng Minya's 99 Phoenix body bloodline was still there, then the heavenly law origin crystal would be worth it. Unfortunately, Feng Minya was already a cripple. She was no longer of any use to the Phoenix clan. The heavenly law 10 heavenly realm realm. Feng Bumming supported Feng Minya and followed her out. He knew that Feng Lilua was very angry, so he didn't dare to say anything. After walking out of the mysterious heaven auction house, Feng Bumming suddenly saw Feng Lilua stop. Then, Feng Lilua took out the communication jade talisman at her waist and checked the news inside. Feng Bumming found that Feng Lilua's body had stiffened, and then she was trembling violently. Master Feng, what happened? Feng Bumming asked carefully. Feng Minya kept her head down. She felt ashamed and confused at the same time. She was already a cripple, and she didn't know what to do in the future. The 3 great arrays around the Phoenix Purgatory have self-destructed. Someone from the main city sent me a message. Feng Lila's eyes flickered as she said gloomily. What? That Zhuan did it? But that's not right. If those 3 great arrays self-destructed, wouldn't the Phoenix Purgatory be destroyed? Could it be that Zhuan left the Phoenix Purgatory in advance? Feng Bumming asked in surprise. I'm not sure about the details. I'll send a message to the 2 guardians of the mysterious flame to ask about the details. Feng Lilua had a bad premonition in her heart. She quickly sent another message to the 2 guardians of the mysterious flame. She wanted to ask about what had happened in the main city. However, after waiting for a long time, the 2 guardians of the mysterious flame did not reply. This made Feng Lilua feel even more uneasy. I'll go back to the main city to take a look. You guys stay near the mysterious heaven auction house and wait for my news. After Feng Lilua instructed Feng Bumming, she took out her flying divine tool and left the mysterious heaven auction house in a stream of light. Senior brother Bumming, could it be that Zhuowen's doing again? When Feng Minya heard Zhuowen's name, her delicate body couldn't help but tremble. Her beautiful eyes revealed a vicious look. She had already heard a lot about Zhuowen from Feng Bumming. She knew that Zhuowen dared to kill the Phoenix people. He was too daring. It should be that Zhuowen. Junior sister Minya, didn't you just say that Zhuowen came to the mysterious heaven auction house 3 months ago? I'm afraid that Zhuowen left the Phoenix Purgatory 3 months ago. The most hateful thing is that we were still kept in the dark by that bastard and played around. Feng Bumming said resentfully. Feng Minya was silent. She suddenly regretted telling Zhuowen the exact address of the Phoenix people. She had always thought that if Zhuowen really dared to barge into the Phoenix people, he would definitely die and she would be easily saved. However, the current development made her feel fear and regret. She had never thought that Zhuowen would be so monstrous. In such a short period of time, his strength had actually become so terrifying and powerful. Even the entire Phoenix people were unable to completely kill him. Now, he had even provoked the Phoenix Master to personally take action. Seeing Feng Minya's gloomy expression, Feng Bumming changed his words. Junior sister Minya, you don't have to worry. Although this Zhuowen is strong, with the Phoenix Master taking action, This boy will definitely die. When the time comes, I will avenge you. Feng Minya forced a smile and said, Minya naturally knows the Phoenix Master's strength. This time, when the Phoenix Master returns, you will definitely kill that Juan. It's just that I'm a little tired. I hope that senior brother can help me find an inn and let me rest. Feng Bumming nodded and looked at Feng Minya with a strange light in his eyes. He said, since junior sister is tired, senior brother will naturally understand. Senior brother will take junior sister to find an inn to rest. As he spoke, Feng Bumming held Feng Minya tightly in his arms and headed to the more prosperous area near the mysterious Heaven auction house to find an inn. Feng Minya wanted to struggle, but when she thought that her cultivation had been crippled, her eyes revealed a sad expression. She gave up and allowed Feng Bumming to hold her. When Feng Lilua left the mysterious Heaven auction house and hurriedly rushed back to the Phoenix people's main city, she sent a message to the dozens of subordinate races of the Phoenix people, asking them to all head to the main city to provide support. The dozens of subordinate races who received Feng Lilua's message were all alarmed. They were all ready to go and gathered in the main city of Phoenix City. However, when they arrived at the main city of the Phoenix people, what they saw was a stretch of ruins. And the corpses of the Phoenix people were piled up like small mountains in the ruins. All the powerhouses of the subordinate races were shocked. They had never thought that the main city of the Phoenix people would be invaded and massacred. This was simply too unbelievable. Chapter 3302. The Treasure Vault. We have to inform the Phoenix Master about this place. Also, who is it that dares to do such a thing to the Phoenix people's main city? This is a crime against the world. One of the leaders of the affiliated clans hurriedly took out a communication jade talisman and sent a message to Feng Lilua. Then he said in fear, "Let's go in and take a look. We just don't know if the culprit is still in the ruins." Another leader of the subsidiary race's eyes flickered. He led his race team and rushed towards the Phoenix people's main city that had already been turned into ruins. However, just as they were about to step into the edge of the ruins, waves of intense array Dao ripples appeared one after another. Following which, the group let out a miserable cry as they were directly sent flying by a powerful rebound force. The leader at the front of the team spat out a mouthful of blood and almost fainted. The other subsidiary races that were about to make a move immediately extinguished their urge to rush into the ruins when they saw the miserable state of the team. Someone has set up an extremely powerful formation around the ruins. If we try to force our way in, we won't be able to get in. Then what should we do? Are we just going to watch the Phoenix people's main city be destroyed? We are powerless. We can only wait for the Phoenix Master to return. After a discussion, the subsidiary races that had rushed over came to a consensus. They would not act rashly and planned to wait for Feng Lilua to return first. At this moment, in the ruins of the Phoenix people's main city, Yuan saw the subsidiary races of the Phoenix people rushing over from all over through the formation at the edge. It seems that the Phoenix Master has already sensed that something has happened to her race. She actually gathered all the subsidiary races. Crepe Myrtle Star narrowed his eyes and said. Juan nodded and said nonchalantly, "They are just a bunch of mobs. They are not worth mentioning. They don't even dare to enter the formation that I set up. What can they do?" By the way, Brother Crepe Myrtle, did any of the Phoenix people surrender? If any of them surrendered and did not resist, we can spare their lives. Those who continue to resist will be killed without mercy. Crepe Myrtle said, "Other than the Phoenix people who were led by the 4 fire gods at the beginning, the rest of the Phoenix people have lost their fighting spirit and surrendered." Juan nodded. Now that the strongest members of the Phoenix clan, the 2 protectors of the profound flame and the 4 fire deities had been dealt with, there was almost no one left in the Phoenix clan who could resist them. The remaining members of the Phoenix clan had no reason to not surrender. Ask the Phoenix people who surrendered. Do any of them know where the Phoenix people's treasury is? If they're willing to tell us, we can set them free. We won't keep them trapped here, Juan said calmly. Purple Myrtle Star Sovereign nodded and went to ask around. He soon returned and said, it is said that the treasury should be hidden in the Phoenix Master's Hall. However, only the higher-ups of the Phoenix people know the exact location. They don't know the exact location. Alright, everyone, follow me to the Phoenix Master's Hall. As long as we find the treasury and open it, everyone will have a share of the treasures inside. As long as you can snatch it, it will be yours, Zhuan said loudly. Zhuan's words immediately attracted the response of Suoingda and the rest of the foreign races. This was the treasury of the Phoenix people. With the foundation of the Phoenix people, there should be many rare treasures in the treasury. Soon, Zhuan led the group of foreign races to the majestic and luxurious Phoenix Master's Hall. Zhuan did not hold back and punched out. A terrifying energy burst out and the Phoenix Master's Hall was blasted into ruins by Zhuan's punch. After that, Zhuan jumped into the ruins and took out a beast bone array disc. He began to use the array to find the location of the hidden treasury. Soon, he found a concealment array disc in the deepest part of the hall. After he broke the concealment array disc, he found that what appeared in front of him was a huge and exquisite bronze door. The copper door was covered with extremely complicated seals and restrictions. But these restriction seals were truly not worth mentioning in Zhuo Wen's eyes. With his formation's Dao level, cracking these restrictions was indeed a piece of cake for him. After breaking the seals on the bronze door slowly opened, revealing an empty tunnel. This tunnel led to the depths of the earth. The moment the bronze door opened, the foreign races behind Zhuan rushed in impatiently. Just as Purple Star Sovereign was about to stop the foreign races who were rushing in, Zhuan waved his hand, indicating that he should not act rashly. Zhuan looked at the motionless snake-faced man behind him in surprise. It could be said that the snake-faced man was the only one among the group of foreign races who was still following him. Even Suoingda and the rest of the foreign races had entered the tunnel. However, the snake-faced man was patient and did not do anything. Seeing Zhuan look over, the snake-faced man chuckled. Grandmaster Zhua, I think that you are a capable person. Following you will definitely be beneficial. I've already opened the door to the treasury. Do you still think so? You watched them go in. What if they beat you to it? Don't you think it's a pity? Zhuan smiled faintly. Ha, you were the one who opened the door to the treasury. You should have gone in first. They are ungrateful, but that doesn't mean that I am. The snake-faced man chuckled. Zhuan looked deeply at the snake-faced man and said, You are very smart. Follow behind me. I won't let you suffer a loss. With that, Zhuan led Purple Star Sovereign and the snake-faced man into the tunnel. As for the other foreign races, basically all of them had entered the tunnel. Zhuan and the other two were the last to enter the tunnel. Not long after entering the tunnel, they heard screams coming from ahead. When they arrived, they found many foreign race corpses lying in the tunnel. These foreign race corpses were covered with densely packed black insects. These black insects were very strange. They went in and out of the foreign race's forehead but did not leave any wounds on the foreign race's body. These are soul-devouring insects, terrifying creatures that specialize in devouring divine souls. There are so many of them in here. The snake-faced man's pupils constricted as he spoke with trepidation. The soul-devouring insects on the foreign race corpses also discovered Zhuan and the others. With a whoosh, they turned into a black cloud and swept towards them. Purple Star Sovereign snorted coldly and waved his sleeve. Black flames surged out like a tide and enveloped the swarm of soul-devouring insects. The undying bird's black flames were extremely terrifying. These soul-devouring insects could not last long under the black flames. They were melted into ashes by the terrifying heat. Next, the three of them continued walking and found that the number of soul-devouring insects in the tunnel increased. Of course, the number of foreign races that died under the soul-devouring insects also increased. The snake-faced man was frightened. He finally understood why Zhuan was not in a hurry to enter the tunnel. Zhuan probably knew in advance that there were dangers in the tunnel, so he was not afraid that the foreign races would beat him to it. However, the snake-faced man thought about it and understood. The Phoenix people's treasury was such a precious place. If they entered it so easily, wouldn't the Phoenix people be brainless? Chapter 3303. The crack soon, the three of them arrived at the deepest part of the tunnel. At the deepest part of the tunnel was a black gold door. In front of the black gold door, there were a few foreign races. Zhuan also noticed that Suo Yingda and the other 6 Skirich masters had suffered heavy injuries. Suo Yingda was in a more miserable state. His right arm was crushed, his clothes were tattered, and his aura was very weak. The foreign races guarding the black gold door were overjoyed when they saw Zhuan and the others. But soon they realized something. Their eyes flickered, and they were somewhat ashamed. They did not dare to look at Zhuan. Grandmaster Zhua, there is a very powerful restriction on this black gold gate. This restriction is too strong. We can't break it. We hope that Grandmaster Zhua can help us open the black gold gate. Suo Yingda said respectfully. Sure, but I have a condition for opening the black gold door. Everyone has the right to fight for the treasures in this treasury, but there is one thing that I, Zhuan, have reserved. You can't fight for it, Zhuan said. Master Zhua, please say it. As long as Master Zhua needs it, we will definitely not take it. Suo Yingda hurriedly said. There should be 3 Ho Yi's divine arrows in this treasury. I need them, so I hope everyone can let me have them. Zhuan said politely. Since Master Zhua needs it, we will definitely not touch it. Whoever dares to touch Master Zhua's things, I will fight with my life. The rest of the foreign races echoed. Zhuan looked at these foreign races and sneered in his heart. He knew very well that once he opened the black gold door, these foreign races would not care whether he had reserved the Ho Yi's divine arrows or not. They would definitely snatch whatever they saw. However, he had already said that if someone was blind enough to snatch the Ho Yi's divine arrows, he would have a reason to attack. After all, these foreign races were not his own subordinates. They were just a motley crew that had been gathered at the last minute. If they had not caught the Phoenix people off guard, they would not have been able to defeat the Phoenix people so easily. Moreover, the main force attacking the Phoenix people's main city this time was mainly him and the Purple Star Monarch. The other foreign races like Suo Yingda didn't contribute much. Therefore, Yuan didn't treat these foreign races who only cared about benefits and didn't contribute much. With these thoughts in mind, Zhuan's gaze was calm as he swept towards the black gold door. With a wave of his sleeve, beast bone array discs were summoned one after another. The restriction on the black gold gate was much stronger than the bronze gate. It was actually a heaven-reaching formation restriction. Zhuan spent several hours before he finally broke through the restriction on the surface of the black gold door. Creak. After the restriction was broken, the black gold door opened. Suo Yingda and the other outsiders burst into an uproar. Ignoring Zhuan, they rushed into the cave with their movement techniques. Zhuan instructed the Purple Star Monarch, then rushed into the black gold door as well. At the same time, he used his divine ability, Torch Dragon's Eye. Everything inside the black gold door was within his eyes. After using the Torch Dragon's Eye to see through the black gold door's treasury, Zhuan sucked in a breath of air. There were simply too many things inside the treasury. Among them, there were piles of high-grade herbs and materials. In addition, there were also piles of heavenly Tao origin crystals scattered in every corner of the treasury. Zhuan was extremely fast. The moment he passed by these herbs and materials, he unceremoniously stored them into his great world. The other foreign races also went crazy. As long as they saw something, they unceremoniously stored it in their storage rings. While collecting things, Zhuan scanned the entire treasury with his Torch Dragon's Eye. He knew the treasury like the back of his hand. He also discovered a very inconspicuous secret compartment in the deepest part of the treasury. If not for the Torch Dragon's Eye, he really wouldn't have noticed this secret compartment. Apart from this secret compartment, he didn't find any Ho Yi divine arrows in the treasury. Instead, he found many high-grade divine tools. Zhuan wasn't in a hurry to go deeper. The treasury was very large, and the resources inside were very dense. He planned to rob all of them first, then open the secret compartment. Zhuan's collecting speed was simply too fast. To put it bluntly, 50% of the resources in the treasury had been taken away by Zhuan. Purple Star Monarch wasn't slow either. He collected 30% of the resources in the treasury. The remaining 20% was fought over by the other races. Of course, most of the remaining resources were divided by Suo Ingda and the other sky-reaching masters. Grandmaster Zhua, this attack on the Phoenix people is due to all of us. There are indeed a lot of resources in the treasury, but most of them have flowed into your pockets. Don't you think you should? Suo Ingda's eyes flashed as he looked at Zhuowen with a burning gaze. The corners of Zhuowen's mouth curled up. You mean to say that you want me to hand over the resources I obtained and split them equally with you? Suo Ingda smiled and nodded. The other races also revealed looks of desire. Zhuowen had obtained far too many resources. They couldn't help but feel that it was unfair. At this moment, they actually wanted to force Zhuowen to hand over the resources he had. If you have the ability, you can snatch them from me. As long as you can snatch them, everything I have will be yours. Zhuowen said calmly. Suo Ingda's expression became a little awkward. He knew what Zhuowen meant. He didn't intend to hand over the resources he had on him. They also didn't dare to challenge Zhuowen's authority. After all, the former was very powerful and had a terrifying expert like Purple Star Monarch by his side. If they went against Zhuowen, wouldn't they be courting death? How would we dare to offend Grandmaster Zhua? Since that's the case, we won't force you. We plan to leave. We hope that Grandmaster Zhua can break the array around the Phoenix people's main city. Suo Ingda smiled. These are array flags. With these array flags, the array will naturally be ineffective against you. You can leave the array smoothly. Zhuowen threw out some array flags and handed them to Suo Ingda and the others. Suo Ingda and the other races received the array flags and cupped their fists at Zhuowen before leaving the treasury. This group of foreign races is very unreliable. They're not united at all. They only know how to take and don't know how to give. Brother Zhua, you released them from the Phoenix Purgatory and even helped them break through. This is already a great favor. Just now, Suo Ingda still had the nerve to ask you to hand over the resources. Purple Star Monarch frowned. They're not my subordinates. They're just a mob that was temporarily gathered. I didn't ask them to listen to my orders. Zhuowen shook his head and smiled. He walked towards a secret compartment in the depths and opened it. Soon after, he found 3 blood-stained divine arrows in the secret compartment. They were the whole divine arrows that he was looking for. After putting away the arrows, Zhuowen looked at Purple Star Monarch and said, Brother Purple Star, after this, I plan to participate in the Sorcerer Tribe's Sorcerer Song Conference. What are your plans? Purple Star Monarch smiled bitterly and said, I've received the inheritance of the Phoenix and have the bloodline of the Phoenix. Theoretically speaking, I'm no longer a human. The current me can't return to the human race in the Xianmi Heavenly Domain. I plan to stay in the Eldritch Heavenly Domain. If possible, I plan to form my own force in the Eldritch Heavenly Domain. I'm afraid that's very difficult. The forces in the Eldritch Heavenly Domain are based on the bloodline of each race. If you're not of the same race, it's very difficult to unite. Brother Purple Star Monarch, why don't you come with me first? I know a good place that's suitable for you and me. Zhuowen said. Zhuowen thought of the heaven-accessing secret land. The Black King had told him that any expert with a heaven-accessing master was qualified to enter the heaven-accessing secret land. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.